Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's podcast, all about Final Fantasy XIV. This evening we've got Amy sometimes, Daimorti, and Inochi Fantasy. Hopefully everything is going okay. Welcome on in, everyone in chat. It's lovely to see all of you. If you do have any questions that you would like to ask any of our guests this evening, I have a channel point command. It's only 50 points, so you should already have access to it. And you can ask a specific person or you can ask anybody, everybody. And we'll try and fit them in amongst all of the questions that we've already got preset. But what we're going to do first is get everybody to introduce a little bit about themselves and maybe like how long have you been playing Final Fantasy XIV? So we'll start with Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy sometimes. I usually stream Final Fantasy on Fridays on my channel. And I've been playing Final Fantasy for almost 3 years, 2.5, I think, so far. So I'm fairly new to the game still.
Still classed as new after a few years. Oh no.
I only know about crafting and fishing. That's all I know.
Okay, but that's interesting. We'll get into that. Daimorti, could you introduce yourself and how long you've been playing Final Fantasy XIV?
Yes, of course. Hi, my name is Modi. I sometimes stream on Twitch, and I'm an avid Final Fantasy addict, as we most are probably. I started, and I looked this up, actually during 5.3 in the last expansion, so that was August 2020. Around that time, I started the game. So yeah, going on nearly 3 years now.
Oh, okay.
I also do a lot of crafting. I have all the relics.
Oh. Everyone's hanging around those 3 years. Okay. Inochi, what about yourself? Have you been playing 3 years or longer?
Hello, yes, I'm Inochi Fantasy, and I'm a full-time streamer here on Twitch. I play JRPGs and anime games, and with Final Fantasy XIV, I'm with for around 8 years already. So I've been playing since late 2015 and streaming since late 2015 as well. And so I've been with Final Fantasy XIV since the very beginning, basically. So yeah, that's me. But I don't know much about crafting.
Time to change that.
Well, that's interesting. I like that. Okay, I've actually gasped. Okay, awesome. Well, what we're gonna do this evening, everyone, is we're gonna ask sort of generic Final Fantasy XIV questions, but you guys in chat do not feel that you need to keep things generic. Anything that you have that you would like to ask these guys, you are welcome to throw our way, and we will try and fit it in if we can. We've also got a few opinion pieces in this evening, so this is something that we like to try and do in the podcast. If anybody ever wants to throw their opinions our way about whichever the topic is, you're always welcome to. So tonight we've got quite a few videos from some people, and my first question is actually for all three of you, so whichever one of you feels like answering these. It's, do any of you know anyone who played the original 14 version 1 before A Realm Reborn?
Fake news, those people don't exist.
I know several.
I have a few in my community. I've seen the tattoos. So the 1.0 players, their characters actually have a back tattoo. So if you see a character with the back tattoo, is usually a 1.0 player. So I know a few as well.
Depending on what race they have, the tattoo is like either a neck one or like a tramp stamp.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I did not know that either.
Yeah, I think the Vieras are a tramp stamp.
Of course. Makes perfect sense.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
That really does click.
I mean, you only look like, yeah, we all know Fran. I mean, it makes sense.
Okay, so to work with that, I have actually got a couple of videos from some V1 players. So I will start by showing you a video from Judge Zect, which some of you may have heard about before. Hopefully this is going to play fine for you. Hopefully it's going to go on the OBS when I press a button. It's not going on OBS when I press a button, please. Okay, here we go.
Hi, my name's Judd Zecht. I'm a longtime Final Fantasy XIV player. I've been playing since 2011 on and off, and I played 1.0 between mid-2011 and November of 2012 when the original game closed. 1.0 wasn't a polished game as far as the game's engine systems, battle systems, and whatnot. Overall, there was issues with servers. There was issues with the amount of polygons that some of the items and structures in the starting cities had. So just seeing other players sometimes was an ordeal. Some of the objects in the game were pretty labor intensive for video cards back then. You had to talk to other players to get your gear repaired. There were no NPCs available to do that kind of stuff for you. You had to talk to people if you wanted something custom commissioned to be crafted for you. Back then, we were all young players and new to the game. We didn't really have high-level crafters available on our servers. Very few players had the ability to build late-game gear. So you had to shout in town and find somebody to make something for you, and you pretty much paid them. 1.0 did have, I'd call it, more elaborate animations to it. The cutscenes had a lot of motion capture and a lot of custom animations to it. We used to have additional gear slots for things like underwear, undershirts, and of course belts. Belts been done away with more recently, but back then the belt that you equipped had a specific look that changed the way it looked on your character. Since AAR came out, your gear has belts modeled into them. Back then it was kind of part of your glamour.
So that I found quite interesting, actually. Do any of you guys have any more comments on what Zecht actually says there?
I just feel sorry for them. I remember some, like, from early Heavensward. I remember how far the game came from that place, but I can't even imagine 1.0 really.
It
was
was so
reading
difficult to do
this.
anything back
Mm.
then.
It wasn't a playable game mainly. Like if you like look at the footage from 1.0, like that it looks like a game, but for the most part there was no system to play yet. It was a very good looking game for the time, but it was not playable, and that's why it ultimately failed.
Yeah, it's very interesting about how Zecht and also I believe Gwydion, whose next video is coming up soon, mentioned the graphics and how they were almost better back then than the ARR version. And that's why people couldn't have them playing them, because the graphic cards weren't up to scratch at the time.
Kill laptops.
Yeah.
I heard.
Yeah, and
Annihilate them.
they talked about it a bit in the NoClip documentary that they did after Heavensward came out. Great documentary on the NoClip channel if you want to get some of the history of 1.0 and ARR. And they legitimately had world objects, a vase, just a background object that had more polygons in it than the player character. So it was more intensive to render that one vase standing on a box than the player characters running around the world, because their focus was just all out of whack, you know? And yeah, it just didn't
And
end up
now
being
they
a good
have
game.
grapes that are actually octagonal.
And we love them.
RIP and RIP Endwalker grapes. You will be always
RIP
remembered.
Endwalker grapes.
Yeah,
They were the
always
best
remember.
grapes.
Remember them.
The joy
Remember
it
that they
brought.
once were there.
Okay, so my next question is also for all of you guys. So once again, whoever feels that you have some input, do you know what were the main problems? We've sort of just said this. Do you know what the main problems with version 1 was for them to shut it down and start again?
The main problems, the engine, the game itself, it didn't run, and then the systems. There was no sprint button, there was no jump button. A lot of the features that you would expect in MMO weren't there. As Jack said, you couldn't craft without specific things, you couldn't repair your gear without specific things. It was playable, but it just was not enjoyable for the majority of people, especially on the back of World of Warcraft that showed that these like old systems, these like archaic MMO grind fests, even though WoW still is a grind, they got kind of phased out. So WoW just showed like the mainstream MMO players like how easy it can be to get into the game, and then Final Fantasy XIV came out and was just like, hey, it looks great. It plays really badly, but it looks great. Come on. And then yeah, it just it never ended up finding an audience that could support the weight of the game.
Oh. Well, we've got another version 1 player. This is from Gwydion. Let me just quickly get this back up on screen and move on to Gwydion's video.
To understand the reason why 14 1.0 failed, you basically first have to look at 11. In Final Fantasy XI, there is no real UI. Everything in the game was done through the menu. You literally had to pop up the menu, choose an attack, and then choose the attack you wanted to do on the monster you had targeted. 14 and 1.0, they wanted to move away from that, so they gave us something that at first glance looks like a UI. Yes, we have like a hotbar, similar type thing for skills and stuff, but you didn't click on them with your mouse. Everything was still done basically with the keyboard for the most part. This will make you laugh, but it's the one thing I remember about the first day of A Realm Reborn. We could jump. In A Realm Reborn, we could jump. In 1.0, you could not jump. It didn't exist in 11. We were hoping it would be there in 14 1.0 when it launched, and it did not exist. So when A Realm Reborn launched and we were able to jump, for like the first week, all you saw was everybody jumping everywhere they went. Nobody walked. If you want to know how it ended, they basically had a worldwide event in the game. A song called Answer's Refrain. That is what was playing in every zone for the last final couple weeks. And then when the servers were dropped, we all saw a cinematic. When you launch A Realm Reborn now, you'll see everything that we saw as the last thing up until the point where Louis Swall is like enveloped in white light. That's the last thing we saw at the end of 1.0. And then we were kicked from the servers and we got a message from the devs telling us that they will be back.
It's pretty cool, really, that a game has done this. Like, they had a version 1, it failed, and they actually gave it another chance. They made it basically from scratch. They just did it all over again. Did you guys know all about the things that Gwydion said in that video about like the jumping and people jumping first week in A Realm Reborn?
I didn't. That is great. I haven't been playing 14 back then, but I still remember the day when the cinematic for ARR, like the last cinematic dropped. It was like on YouTube. It made so much impression on me, but I just couldn't play an MMO back at the time. But I was like, wow, that is great.
Yeah, it was really impressive. Daimorti, what did Square do to finish off the original 14 and introduce A Realm Reborn?
Something brilliant and basically never done before, especially on that scale. Like, when they knew that the product had failed, they brought in Yoshida-san, Naoki Yoshida, our Lord and Savior, basically. Like, he was a director at the time for other Final Fantasy products, and he got brought up on the project, and he tried for a little bit to fix the game, and then after a few months of patches that didn't do anything because the game was fundamentally broken in the way they developed it, he made the decision, and he got the green light from the business people at Square Enix to nuke the entire game and just make a new game. And so for the last few months, they said, like, we're going to stop service for the game. That's it. We're shutting it down. Suddenly, a red moon appeared in every zone. A very ominous music played in every zone. Nobody knew anything about it. And as was said, right as the server shut down, the GMs went in. They spawned monsters everywhere, and it was just kind of like fun. And like high-level monsters got spawned in every town. People were dying all the time. And then just black screen, servers down, and then the cinematic plays, and that ended up being the intro cutscene to ARR. And 10 years later, that cutscene is phenomenal. It holds up so well. Gives me chills every time. And that's how they did it. They just said, boom, there is a calamity, the world gets destroyed. And then you start 14 with 5 years after, with the world having been destroyed 5 years ago, and you're trying to figure out what happened during that time. Just unprecedented on that scale. A giant gamble on Square Enix's side, and it paid off.
I wonder if they'll ever do a gamble again. Like,
Never.
Obviously not for 14, but like if Square would ever dare do something that's such a gamble.
I don't think something like this is possible in this day and age. With how fast how rapidly prototyped new products are. I don't think we'll see this on this scale again. No.
They might be too scared, yeah. Although they're still trying new things, though. So I always like that about Square Enix. Like they weren't scared to make like Final Fantasy an action game, move on from like the older gameplays and try something different.
Yeah, they're always like you say, they're always moving forward with things. Inochi, how does 14 differ to the mainline Final Fantasy series other than being an MMO, or do you think it doesn't really differ?
The fact that it's an MMORPG, it's I think the only thing that really just makes it like an MMORPG. It's first Final Fantasy game to me always. I like to call it as a love letter to the Final Fantasy fans, and you can actually just see so much inspirations and so many little things like taking from this game, taking a little bit of from the other game, like the job system is very similar to Final Fantasy V. I recently played it for the first time, and it's a great game. Don't sleep on it. It's really amazing, Final Fantasy V. And the job system in 14 really reminded me of that. And the story also, I think it can be put equally on like some of those most beloved Final Fantasy series, like Final Fantasy VII or 10. I personally like to think that Final Fantasy XIV has the best story out of like all of the Final Fantasies I played. And I played from 3 to 15. So yeah, it's a Final Fantasy game first of all, and then MMORPG. It's a little bit overwhelming because there's so much content. So I guess that's also like the MMORPG kind of box. But all the emotions, the music, like things that we love Final Fantasy for, it's there.
Beautiful. I've got a video from Hey It's OST. Let me line him up. He has a little question for you guys.
Hi there guys, my name is Ost, and I've got a quick question for you on Final Fantasy XIV. I've been playing myself since the Realm Reborn beta on PS3. And I've had a lot of friends join in that time, a lot of friends leave, a lot of friends stick with it, and a lot of friends give up. And the common place that my friends and people that I know give up are two places. There's Stormblood, because they feel the story isn't as compelling as Heavensward, which I think is a crime, not against Stormblood, but a crime against the fact that they were so close to Shadowbringers and Endwalker, then they just gave up. And you get the people that give up in a Realm Reborn because they can't play with their friends, they want to rush to endgame, and they're just thinking it's a really long slog. And either way, they're missing out of it. But have there been any other things that have stopped friends that you know or acquaintances from playing 14 or getting fully into it? Where did people stop in your experience? And what do you think about the times that my friends have stopped, like Stormblood and, pre-duty finder raiding kind of stuff? Cheers. Thank you.
Has anybody got any responses to that? Have any of you found that any of your friends that tried the game and then just couldn't get into it?
Yeah, that initial slog to catch up to everybody else is really painful because everybody is so far ahead and they have so many years ahead of them. And, they've put in so much work to get there. And, we call them the FF boomers and stuff like that. Like, they're all like, oh, well, back in my day, it wasn't this easy. But I think that they've made a lot of changes to A Realm Reborn and Heavensward, and they're adding a lot more changes to make it an easier slog for sprouts. And like we were saying just before we went live earlier, Daimorty, Inochi, and I were talking about how we all now the Final Fantasy community is like, oh, a sprout? Never before. Let us adopt you. Let us take you in. Let us emotionally vampire off of your emotions because we've been traumatized so often by this game and its storyline. So let us feed off of your feelings now.
Yeah, people really love watching first players' reactions to the story. I actually have a situation at home right now that my partner just finished Stormblood. And I'm like asking him every day, when are you going to start Shadowbringers? When is the Shadowbringers? Because I want to watch him react to the Shadowbringers. But because there was a lot of main story, right? He kind of got burned out just doing the main story. So maybe my suggestion is to see what other content has the game has to offer. So have a little break to check out crafting, right? You guys love crafting. You recommend crafting. And maybe when you're gonna do a lot of other content and you're still gonna like it, maybe that urge to continue the main story will come to you. So I definitely it's worthy to keep going for sure. Like the best
Absolutely.
is still in front of you.
Yeah, I've great story. I mean, I have the personal experience for myself. I started in 5.3 and I didn't end Shadowbringers until 5.55, like 6 months later, because I went through pretty fast. I don't share the opinion of a lot of people that ARR is like a complete slog. There is like very bad parts in the Realm Reborn, but for the most part, I think it's a very good way to set up the foundation of the game, and the post content is very good. Like it's very good, then very bad, and then very good at the end. And then Heavensward is great. But I had that myself when I went through and I did the MSQ. At the end of Stormblood, I just quit. I just completely stopped for almost like 3 months. I was burned out. I did not enjoy Stormblood at all. In hindsight, I can look back fondly to it. But if you go rapid fire ARR post Heavensward into Stormblood is a really like
Stormblood slows you down.
yeah, it slows you down
Does.
so much. It's so
It's a
broken up.
very it's a very like convoluted storyline that goes many
Yeah.
different directions.
It just ends up having like good parts, but then you get like taken out of the good part to do the other part over here, and it just never fits together.
A lot different
and
as well, right? Because you go from this
Yeah.
high fantasy into politics, and that just
Yeah.
is
So much
weird.
politics. It's very
Yeah.
Final
I
Fantasy
like
XII.
stuff like that, but in Stormblood, it just didn't end up being that great for me at the time. Now I look back, it's good, and I still would. I for me personally, I still rate Stormblood very low because it's sandwiched between Heavensward and Shadowbringers, and it just pales in comparison.
I have a soft spot because it was my first DLC that I played on the release. So like
Understandable.
I have
Mm.
very warm and fond
I
feelings.
feel
about
like to get
Stormblood.
your partner back into it, to trick him, is to get him to do this like the Four Lords quest line, which I think is like
Yes.
stellar.
Yeah,
There's
we
a
just
lot of
finished
like
Omega as well. So
yeah, and
we're
Omega
there.
is amazing. Like Stormblood has so much good content as far as like the Alliance raid, the eight man, and then the trials as well are so good. So like trick them back into it by
Yeah.
like, oh, let's
Absolutely. Yeah, I think as like an expansion, like from a game sense, from an MMO sense, Stormblood was really, really good and it was really well loved, but the story was just not landing for me.
And a lot of the fights and a lot of the dungeons are a lot of fun.
Yes.
But the story is really all over the place. Like it feels like there's many people working on it and none of them talk to each other for a very long time.
I
That
think
is
it
actually
takes
a feeling that I got,
around.
yeah.
I think it also takes around 10 hours to even get to the first dungeon, which is like
Yeah,
the problem
it's
with
a
pacing
it's
as
a
well.
slog.
Oh,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I have like friends that
Don't
are in
give up.
both camps. Yeah, I have friends in both camps. I have friends that started and they just couldn't get past they wanted to play an MMO, but they couldn't get past like the Final Fantasy-ness of it, like the reading and the slow start.
This is a
And
lot
then
of reading.
yeah, they're like very interested in the story, but then like some things didn't land for them and they just got uninterested, but then they had to like listen to these NPCs prattle on and then they just stopped. And I had somebody who started as a black mage and just wanted to raid and then did an ARR skip and then was a level 50 black mage, which I'm like, it's not a good idea. And it was not a good idea. They did not enjoy it, especially black mage. Or I think level 70 black mage even.
Literally
Especially
one
black
of the
mage is
most
like the
painful
worst.
jobs.
It's the worst job to level as your first time, in my opinion, because you don't have a class until level 80. Like every 10 levels, everything you do changes fundamentally until at level 80 it comes together and it's really fun. But like 50 is very different from 60. 60 is very different from 70, in my opinion. And so I have that all. I also know this like UK-based streamer. She started the game, but she didn't really vibe with the controls and then stopped. I forgot her name though. I'm sure it will come to me.
I've no idea who you're speaking about. I don't know why. He's talking about somebody else.
No, there are multiple ways to play the game, keyboard and mouse, or controller even. So if you're not vibing with the controls, you might try a the UK-based streamer that you're talking about, whom I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll extend that. Yeah, I'll
I
say.
think also, I think it's okay for, and this is gonna be blasphemy to a lot of purists, and I didn't do this myself, but I think that it's I'm just like really emphasizing I didn't do this. I watched every single cutscene, but it's okay to skip some cutscenes if you are literally just not vibing, because if it will keep you onward until you can get to the good meat, like that's okay. You know what I mean? It's there's no shame in playing how you will, even though I personally believe you shouldn't skip any cutscene. There's a lot of viability in all of it, but if that's what keeps it alive for you to get to like the good stuff, it's okay to skip your Brussels sprouts and eat your dessert.
And finding a
to-
job that suits you is also very important.
Yes.
Just keep
Super
on looking for the job that just suits your play style.
'Cause there
'cause
will be one.
I had different eras as well, and that probably kept me playing the game too. Because casting as Bard, no, never again, please.
Yeah, well, I discovered my favorite job, fishing, and it really
Oh,
kept me in the game.
ocean
That's what I used
fishing!
for all of
Of
my
course.
my savage rating.
I don't accept you as a Final Fantasy XIV player if your first max level job wasn't Fisher.
I've maxed my Fisher to 80 before I finished A Realm Reborn.
Same. Yeah.
I had all
Mm.
my crafters to like I was an Omni crafter before I finished Heaven's Word. Um,
Very
because
good.
I have a disease.
It's called fun.
Yeah, I also have a friend, like, he wrote to me and he was like, hey, I'm finally starting Final Fantasy XIV. Let's play together. And I saw him playing Final Fantasy XIV for 2 weeks, only fishing, and then he stopped.
Tell him if he beats the game, the fishing gets more complicated
Yeah.
and more
Oh, maybe
fun,
that.
and you have to wake up at stupid hours to
Mhm.
get like I woke up, there was one fish that its window was 5 minutes at 6 a.m.
Oh.
So it's like fishing in real life, except
Yep.
it's not as smelly.
Okay, let's
Fishing in Final Fantasy XIV. It's like real life, but not as smelly. There you go.
It's beautiful.
Applicable for
print it, send
everything
it.
in Final Fantasy.
Let's move on into some more questions, shall we? I mean, I'm sure fishing will come up several times. Amy, as an online MMO, this comes with a subscription charge, doesn't it? Could you please explain how that works for people that may not know? Is anything locked out during the first free 60 levels, isn't it?
So Final Fantasy XIV actually has a free trial all the way unlimited up until level 60, including the award-winning X-Pack Heavensward. You can basically do everything good friend people. You can't message them, but they can message you. They can add you as a friend, but they can't add you into their free companies because like if you make a bunch of accounts, you can make it that could be a fraud thing or whatever. But essentially you can do everything. Like it doesn't limit you at all. There's no time frame. You can play the entire game. I know somebody in the game who's only on the free trial has leveled every single job class that they could unlock to 60, has done like all the little side quests, has literally like milked the entire free trial and its entirety and still hasn't paid a subscription. He's been playing for like a year and a half, almost 2 years. And he still has more to do. He's like, once I finish it, then I'll subscribe because obviously I love this game, but I don't have to pay right now, so I'm not going to. And I was like, that's genius, even if you can't talk to anybody. But you can't buy from like the market boards or anything like that. But like, and people can't give you stuff. But essentially, like after that, it's $14.99 for an unlimited membership, which is monthly. And then you can make a character on every single server with that membership. So you can play multiple characters across the board if you want to, although every character is essentially the same because you can have all the jobs and things unlocked. There's also a limited, cheaper subscription for $12.99 where you can have just one character and like I think it's just one character, but maybe one extra one in like another world or something like that within the same data center.
Yeah, something like that. I think like one per data center.
Yeah, per
Something
data
like that.
center,
Or like
and
one per
it's
server.
More than enough.
Yeah, more than
which
enough.
is more than enough. Like I have one character, and I still haven't done enough on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Zect is saying in chat how he has a permanent discount
Yes.
because he was a version 1 player. I don't know
Oh,
what that. What's your
wow.
discount, guys? That are there's some version 1s in chat. What's your discounted amount? Like free or what?
It's not free, but it's a pretty big discount, I
Oh,
think. Like $1 or $2
That's
even.
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
See if they. Oh, it's a 30-second delay. We.
That's a worthwhile.
In the
That's a worthwhile
meantime,
thing. He's paying
you
10
can go
bucks,
to
so
that's
FinalFantasy14.com and sign up for that free trial.
right now. Download it
I
right
love
now.
how You guys are all you're straight up pushing. You're pushing
It's
that.
a literal
You want
cult,
more.
and we're not even
Yeah.
paid to do this.
No,
Like,
that's
we
like
do this out
once-
of the soul of our spirit that has been
Free
captured.
trial.
You
Yeah.
know, we are
Once-
enthralled.
We just want the sprouts. Let us
We are
love
enthralled.
you.
Yoshi
Yeah, we need
is
more.
our primal.
We need more fresh blood. Like once Yoshida and Soken and all the other people got their hooks into you, you evangelize for them. You evangelize for this game. Like it never
Oh,
stops.
yeah,
Like
it's an
this
absolute
game
cult.
makes you like there's a lot of MMOs out there, and some MMOs are great, but this one I think is one of the only ones that is great and makes you happy, and you just want to share that happiness.
Yeah,
Even if
and
it's
like
just for the story.
you don't have somebody from WoW coming over and being like, "Hey, you should play WoW." No, people from WoW talk to me and they're like, "Yeah, don't play that game."
Yeah, it's shit.
I've been
It's
playing it for
horrible.
10 years and I play it every day, but don't play that game.
Yeah.
Whereas like Final Fantasy, people are like, "I played this game for a year. Join us."
Yeah, the friend code, the friends code. Yeah, if you have a friend, you can enter their code before you buy the game, and you both get rewards.
You get really good rewards for doing that.
You get some good mounts.
I've gotten so many gold chocobo feathers. I just like
Mm.
Okay. Didn't realize you guys were getting rewards. Okay,
Oh.
let's
So if I can
Exclusive
just
mounts
add
you can't get
something
anywhere
Yeah.
else.
about the free trial, if one of your friends that possibly made you play this free trial does have the subscription and everything, they can make a party for you and them, or like for you and other people in the free trial, and just leave the party and you guys can still be in a party.
Yeah.
So just there is some ways around the limitations of the free
Oh, cool.
trial.
Yeah, I think the only like really bad limitation of the free trial is the guild cap. Like eventually you'll hit a guild cap, you
Yeah,
can't have more guild,
it's a
and
hard
your retainers have a
Guild
cap as
cap.
well.
And
Yeah, I think it's
market
like
Can't
board.
even
5
buy
million.
things from the market board, so what even matter?
Well, I mean, you know, if you like play all the 600 hours, you lose out on a lot of stuff.
True,
If you,
true, true.
Like,
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna keep going through these questions because you guys are talking about things that some people might not even know anything about yet.
This is all basic.
yeah, I mean, come
My
on.
next
Oh,
question.
it's 300K guild cap.
Oh, it's even worse. Yeah, okay.
That is depressing.
my
It's like
next
a day of teleporting.
I had one
Sounds
community
so
member
guilty.
literally play the game for a week and then go, "No, I can't do this anymore," and is now paying the sub.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like just a week, and they were like, "I'm in. I bought the whole game, played the sub. Now I'm here.
Yeah.
16 characters later, still playing the game."
wow. Okay.
I did the same thing when I started. It was just as it ramped up with the meme about the free trial, because it was just the moment the free trial went from level 35 to level 60, and I was probably level 25. I'm like, no, this is special. Bam, collector's
remember
edition.
that.
Give me everything. Give me my fat chocobo mount. Yeah.
My next question is for all of you. We'll start with Anochi. Which expansion or story has been your favorite so far, and why?
No, and this is like the worst question. How do I pick the favorite child? Well, as I said before, the Stormblood has a very like warm place in my heart. My first DLC. I still think Shadowbringers and Endwalker would be my favorite. Yeah, Shadowbringers just made me cry so much, and man, I can't even say the reason, honestly. But yeah, Shadowbringers and Endwalker is very close. Like they're very equal up there on the top. So can I just pick both?
Sure, of course you can. Daimorti, what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely Shadowbringers. I cried a lot. It's amazing. It is one of the best RPG game stories ever told. One of the best stories ever told in gaming or in extended media, in my opinion. So for me, it's always going to be Shadowbringers. Endwalker was amazing, but I think Endwalker is below it. And just the Endwalker had a very Endwalker was the end of the story that started with A Realm Reborn. Like 10 years story ends with Endwalker, and they, in my opinion, did a fantastic job. But Endwalker just makes Shadowbringers so much better because you get so much more knowledge about all the things that happen in Shadowbringers. That Shadowbringers gets even elevated higher and higher and higher. So for me, it's definitely Shadowbringers followed by Endwalker, and then Heavensward, A Realm Reborn. And I don't have the warm feeling in my heart. I rate Stormblood as the weakest expansion. I think even ARR is better than Stormblood, in my opinion. just because of the tremendous amount of foundation you get in there. And I think, especially, like, as I said, because Heavensward is here, Shadowbringers is here, and then you have Stormblood in between, it gets the boot from me. But yeah, Shadowbringers is definitely my favorite.
Okay, and Amy?
I mean, like, Shadowbringers is, like, top for sure, but for me, because of how I played the game, I streamed my entire MSQ playthrough and all of the, like, a lot of the main side quest stories. The only thing I don't really stream on my stream when it comes to Final Fantasy is my crafting, because I get really deranged, and I like to keep that off stream. I do, like, deranged hours crafting, and so that's the only thing I don't really stream, and so when I was doing my playthrough, I think my big turning point was, A Realm Reborn's, patches where you did the Bahamut coils, and then right into getting into the patch and at the beginning of Heavensward. I remember doing A Realm Reborn and being like, "This is stupid. These people are racist. Why are they like this? I don't like this. Well, if they just didn't do that, this wouldn't be an issue. Well, if we didn't have classism, this wouldn't be an issue. This is clearly capitalism at play here, showing you how evil it is. Like, why do I want to play a game that's just the same suffering? I live in the United States." Um, and so like the beginning of A Realm Reborn for me was very much like, this is silly. This is also silly. What's the point? I'm not gripped yet. I think this is fun. It's Final Fantasy, and I'll fish all day long, so I'm gonna keep playing this game. But so far, not too super into it. And then Bahamut coils came through, and you learn about Louis Swa and his story, and that's like what really gripped me. And so for me, like the end of A Realm Reborn and the beginning and most of Heavensward are my favorite, because that's when this story turned and it started like really clutching you and like making you cry and like breaking your heart and sewing it back together and then throwing it in a trash compactor and then oh, I'm so sorry, I never meant to hurt you, and then stomping on you again. And so that was like when it began, and so those are like really near and dear to my heart. It's also when they lasted the firmament restoration, which is this crafting thing, and that made me extra deranged. So I think that like the trauma bond I have with that Heavensward X pack is particularly like deep.
Yeah, the fact that I missed the Firmament titles will forever haunt me.
I have them. I crafted for a week straight. It was so deranged. I didn't sleep for like 5 days in a row because I was just mining the whole time.
Could
Oh,
someone
man.
explain to me what this is, please?
So
I haven't lived it. I just heard the stories as well. Like, oh, I've been crafting till 4 a.m. to just make it
Yeah.
on the leaderboard or something like that.
It's a permanent leaderboard and a title that is incredibly rare because you had to be the top of your world. So within your data center, you have your world, and I'm on one of the more competitive ones because I'm on Aether Cactar, and Cactar is where all the crafters are. Go figure. And so it's really competitive. But essentially, it was a crafting and gathering ranked race to see who could craft and gather the most. And so that's how
Yeah.
that's what that is. And it was the last time it was happening. So it was my one and only chance to do it.
Yeah, it came in like waves. You had like multiple chances to do it, but you had to be like actively playing at that time and have your crafters leveled. And I just missed it, sadly. It was really cool from a gameplay perspective because it was like about the restoration of a certain
Yeah, it's
area.
restoring of like after Heavensward, it's restoring the area that was ruined. And so
Yeah.
it literally becomes restored, and that's why we don't have it anymore because we saved it. you
Yeah,
know?
it's now
Nice.
fully restored, and you could actually like in game every wave you like they would like give you a cutscene and show you like, oh, you repaired this building, you repaired this
It would
road,
literally
and would
repair
build and build and build. And
and
now they made that a housing zone, so now you can
yeah,
own a
it's
house
so
there
it
and live
feels
there.
like it's and I
Yeah.
have a house there, so
Yeah.
I feel like
Aw.
particularly like attached to
I
my
made
house there.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I made this. I
definitely.
fixed this piece of
Hmm.
I fixed this rubble, and now I have a house.
I was awake for 6 days
Aw.
straight. I did this.
I haven't slept in years, but here we are. It was also maximum deranged. Like there was an open shout chat in there, and so we were all derangedly talking to each other. Like anytime anybody would like say egg, all of us egg 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 egg. And then, like, it was, or somebody would be like, no, think, only clink, and clink 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 clink. It was really bad.
I'm so sad I missed it.
It was
Okay, and now chat's writing egg.
There you go.
They're here. They're here, guys.
I understand. They were there with me.
Inochi, how often do they bring out the events? I'm gonna put events like that across the year, and what do they normally bring to the game?
Limited time events. We actually finished one just the other day. They usually last for 2 weeks, where you can make do a special quest to get a reward for a certain event that is happening in real life. Right for now, the last one was the Little Ladies Day, which is I think the equivalent of the Women's Day or the International Women's Day
I think it's also
here in
White
our
Day
world.
in Japan too.
Oh, it could be that. Oh, of course, because it's like a month after Valentine's.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had the Valentine's Day event, the New Year's Day event. So they're actually very, very often. We have also a Gold Saucer event that is usually happening around June, where
I
you
can't
can
wait.
where you can get the Gold Saucer currency, which is like a special currency to spend for the Gold Saucer rewards, and there's like 50% more of that currency during the event. The summer event, Halloween event, the event that celebrates the anniversary of Realm Reborn. So it's is it 10 years this year actually? Oh,
I'm
nice.
prepared to cry again.
Oh yeah, so we're going to celebrate 10 years of the Realm Reborn. So yeah, they're very often. They already announced the Easter Easter event that is coming up. I think in a week or 2.
Yep, in a week
So
exactly.
a lot of those, and always remember to do it. They only last for 2 weeks. If you miss it, you'll have to wait a year to get the rewards from those events and get them for real money. So it's very important to finish the quest and get the rewards, even as silly as it is, like a chicken headgear, something like that.
It's always like silly little things.
Yeah.
And if anybody is from other MMOs, it's not like in other MMOs like World of Warcraft where you have to like grind a lot. It's usually like a quest that you can do in 20 minutes and then you have the rewards and that's it. And then sometimes there's like an after event that you can repeat for something. But like
Valentine's Day one was so cute.
It was so cute. The Valentine's Day one was really cute. You could like queue into a 2-player instance with either with a 2-party team or just random, and it was like kind of a speed dating thing. It was kind of cute.
It was testing your communication bonds essentially.
And this Easter event, everybody, if you haven't bought the game yet, buy it, because this Easter's funny little suit. Easter is usually the time where you get like a funny little outfit. It's a Tonberry outfit, and I can't wait.
It makes you look like inappropriate though.
I
don't know why they made it dyeable.
Stab.
They made it dyeable. They made it
Bonk
dyeable.
Ami.
Because they know us.
Bonk Ami.
Why does it look like that?
It actually reminded me of the Yoko Taro head from like the Nier developers. Yeah.
Except it's more elongated.
I just need to log in and buy some pink dye, I think.
But yeah, there is a lot.
And Amy, does Final Fantasy XIV have limit breaks? If so, what are they compared to? What are they like compared to other Final Fantasies?
So they're similar to other Final Fantasy games in the sense that you have to like do something to charge your bar. In this game though, it's a party-based thing usually, unless it's like unless it's a story thing that they do later and they like give it to you for whatever reason. Generally you're in a dungeon or a trial or a raid of some kind and you build it with your party. And then the limit breaks vary per job, but each job has like a specific thing that it does. So the tank ones do a defense that increases depending on how many bars you have. The healers heal and or revive everybody depending on how many bars you have. And the DPS usually are some sort of like, with 3 bars, it's like an AoE attack of some kind, and with 1 and 2 bars, it's an attack based on your job class.
Okay, cool. And Daimorti, what game engine has been used for Final Fantasy XIV, and is it something that they're able to continuously update with time?
I had to look it up, and it is not easy to find info about this.
No.
So the original game used the Crystal Engine, just like 13 Zodiac Age, which got canned, I think, and then a little bit of 12, I think, used it as well. And that's why ultimately it didn't work, because it was a single player engine. It was not meant for online game. It didn't work as an online engine. And then they now developed the Luminous engine from the Luminous studio that they developed in-house, which is also not multiplayer compatible. So the Final Fantasy XIV engine, as far as I could find out, actually has no name. It is a proprietary in-house engine developed by the team under Yoshida. And it's like a sibling, according to him, a sibling to the Luminous engine, uses a lot of the bone work, like the structure of the Luminous engine, but was built from the ground up for 14 specifically as an MMO that can be serviced on console and PC. And it is incredibly serviceable because with the death of the PS3 and soon the PS4, once they get rid of these like hardware limitations of old PlayStation hardware, because the game runs on console, they make insanely big jumps in graphical fidelity, animation quality, camera rigging. Like if you look at the way like ARR handles like in-game cutscenes and the way Endwalker handles in-game cutscenes, you can see the journey that the team took. So it would appear that the engine is fairly serviceable. It has a lot of limitations, especially due to its age. Like a lot of the menu systems are archaic and convoluted, but for the most part, they seem to be able to develop it into the future. And the PS4 is going to get phased out soon. I think with 7.0, with the next expansion, we're going to get the next major graphical update. And from what they've showed so far, it looks fantastic.
They're gonna lose a lot of players if they phase out the PS4, though.
Yeah, they are.
Like, so many people, and like so many people can't have laptops or PCs. PS4 was the most accessible device that you can have for the game.
In Japan, especially, I think consoles
Yeah.
are like much more popular to play on a console than a PC.
Yeah, maybe
But-
they won't phase it out soon, but I know that like for 7.0, they are planning on a very big graphics update.
Yeah, it's gonna be. The PlayStation 4 already sounds like it's a rocket ship about to fly off when you play the game. So I can only imagine.
Yeah, that's true. Anochi, what is a link shell and free company and the difference between the two? What benefits do you get for being part of one?
So the free company is essentially something that would think of a guild. So a group that you can invite your friends over, or like-minded people that would like to enjoy the game together with you. You can be only a part of one free company. So I guess it's just it's pretty much like picking up your in-game family. It also comes with the free company chat. So everybody that is a part of the company, a member of the free company, they can communicate on this separate chat. While the link shell is just a chat, basically, and you can invite anyone you want to this chat room, basically. So if you want to send, even if you have friends on other data centers, no. But if you want to have people like your friends playing on different servers and you want to stay in touch with them, are you looking people for like to play content with, you can just put a message on the link shell, and even someone from a different server can receive it if they're a part of the link shell. While the free company is like part just on one server, and it's like a guild, a group, something like that. A link shell, I think, can hold up to 60 players in the chat. And free company, wow, was it like 500 or something? Like there's some really big free companies, I think.
Oh.
Shout out to Zanark and Babes, yes, on Mogul. That's my free company. So I always only had my own free company. Never been in like a part of a free company. Always just was my free company of me and my viewers and my friends. But the link shell, for example, I'm a part of a couple of them, while I'm a part of let's say my friends' stream community. I'm in their link shell, so sometimes I will play with different friends. I hope it made sense.
Yeah. I'm also enjoying that Zect has written in chat, Amy sometimes syndicate ass link shell is the most cursed link shell available.
It's not cursed. It's just we're very open.
Good.
I
would sign up.
Yeah.
One day.
Daimorti, in this game, there's a job system. Can you please talk us through this?
Oh boy. Yes. The job system.
Look.
Oh god. I don't want to go too long. So unlike
Please don't.
traditional MMOs that you know, like WoW, you don't play like you don't choose you choose your starting class in this game, but you're not locked to it. Like if you are a priest in WoW, you are a priest in WoW. You'll always be a priest. You'll never be as anything else in that character. In Final Fantasy XIV, they made the decision, which is amazing, and I love it, and it very much respects your time. Of you can have one character do everything in the game, everything. There is 13 combat jobs right now, I think, that you can all play on your character. You pick one that you start with, but the moment you hit level 15, you can go to any of the towns and pick up the rest of the classes, and then more and more get unlocked the further you get into the game. And so the job system simply allows you to, by simply switching the weapon in game, switch your job or your class. The classes are like the base things are called class up to level 30, and then everything turns into a job. Like in Final Fantasy I, for example, the thief turns into a ninja, and so on and so forth. It's the same here. Like you start as a rogue, and then you become a ninja, or you start as a gladiator, you become a paladin. And yeah, you can just have every single job on one character, including all the crafters, all the gatherers, everything just on one character, max it all out, play all the stories. And I think it's a great system because it just negates so many headaches that other games have where they bring out a new system. Oh, you really want to do it on your alt, but then you have to regrind everything on your alt, and now you have to like do the entire story on a secondary character, and you can't skip some of these things. And now you're like 30 hours later. Now you can finally do the thing that you wanted to do like yesterday or 2 days ago. And you don't have that in 14. You just go to an NPC. You're like, I want to be a red mage. Can I be a red mage? And he's like, yeah, sure. Here, be a red mage, and that's it. And then you level as red mage.
Just change the main weapon, and you're the new job. You're the new job. If you don't like the job, it's very easy to switch to something else and just try everything and find the one for yourself.
Yeah, and the very, very brilliant thing that 14 does as well is it has a system called the Armory bonus. So if you have a job at level 60 and you start back from level 1, you get a 100% increase in your experience until the level 1 job is the same level as your level 60 job. So even if you're like already like further into the game, but you're like, oh, I don't want to play black mage anymore. I want to be a tank. I want to be a paladin. Then you can go back and very quickly level the paladin up to level 60 and just continue. It's a brilliant system because it just allows you to save so much time.
Beautiful. My next question is definitely for noobs like me. Amy, could you please talk us through the different roles of the damage dealer / DPS, tank, and healer? Are there other roles?
Too crazy into everything. It's pretty basic as far as any like RPG based game that you've played. Essentially, the tank is what walls off, like what takes all the damage for the party. It draws the enmity and the hate and the attention of your enemies, and then your healers obviously keep everybody alive. The DPS do all the damage. Just like you would a normal RPG. You always want to have at least a tank and a healer, right? And you want to have a bunch of DPS to do damage. Party makeups are usually a tank, a healer, and 2 DPS jobs. Usually you want something far, a job that's a ranged of any kind, and then one that's a melee. So one that's close up and one that's far away. As far as like and then when you have raids or anything like that, that changes. In an alliance raid, your regular party is suddenly 24 people separated into 3 groups, and each of those groups is like 1 tank, 2 healers, 5 DPS. Or a regular trial dungeon will be, or trial raid will be 2 tanks, 2 healers, 4 DPS, to just like have that. Like a lot of the savage raids are all like 2 tanks, 2 healers, 4 DPS, and you want all the DPS types. We've got to collect them all. There are other roles too. There's a whole bunch of crafters, and there's 3 gatherers as well that you could do.
For
And
sure.
that's just to like make things. You can gather rocks, or you can gather plants, or you can gather fish.
See, I like that. That sounds fun to me.
It
Okay,
is. You should
well
try it.
now my question is, for each of you, we'll start with Amy and we'll work our way down. Which role do you typically play as and why?
If I'm not crafting or gathering, which is 90% of the game, I'm actually raiding as a gunbreaker. my main is a tank, and I've chosen Gunbreaker because my favorite Final Fantasy is 8, so it's near and dear to my heart, and it's the only thing I know how to do. I can't do anything.
Daimoti, what about yourself?
Currently, my main magic DPS, I play a summoner. I played it before the changes. Okay, I didn't pick the easy job. Know what you're thinking. No, I just loved summoner. I played Dark Knight before, and then I also do a lot of Scholar for like extremes and anything like below Ultimate Savage. I always do Scholar because I enjoy healing. But yeah, magic DPS, summoner, big fat Bahamut. Ankmorn, let's go.
And Enochi, what about yourself?
So my main job is Bard. I had a little bit of a break from it in Heavensward, but I essentially came back to Bard, and it was actually the job I started on. I started on Archer, and I kept it as my main job all the way till now, till Endwalker. So 8 years maining Bard. Ups and downs, really love it. It's physical DPS with support elements. So I really like it. I really like to buff my my party, and eventually I can heal them up a little bit as well. But yeah, it's like I make the party stronger. I also really like to play Sage, which is a new healer job. It's very similar to the physical range DPSs, so I really like it. It's also like a pew pew.
It's the attack healer.
Yeah. I love it very much. But yeah, so I'm doing difficult content on Bard, but I usually play Sage and doing dungeons and roulettes on Warrior as well. I'm a big fan of Warrior, really like. And so I play a little bit of everything, but those are my 3 favorite jobs.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to remind chat, if you've got questions that you'd like to ask these guys, do pop them in the channel point command. I'm just going to try opening up a software and hope that it doesn't crash the stream to see what questions we've had from you guys so far. So if anybody hasn't put a question through yet and you would like to put a question through, it's in the channel point command. It should be the only one available for you. And hopefully I will be able to find messages, although I can't see them. Where can I find my messages? Oh no. I was hoping to find some in that software, but that did not work. Okay, I'll get around to it. Hopefully somebody one of my mods can track back and find all of the messages and like copy paste them for me that we've had so far. My next one that I've already got pre-written is your favorite job within these roles and why. And we'll go backwards. So we'll go with Enochi first.
Well, I kind of explained it already,
Yeah.
but I think I misunderstood the first the first question.
I may have I should have just mushed those two together.
Nah, it's all
Yeah.
fluid.
So I think I already answered it, so I don't know if I want to repeat myself.
Yeah.
Hard.
Daimorti, is there any more on your response for the favorite job within the role?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my favorite my favorite mage character is Summoner. Currently, my favorite tank is sometimes Dark Knight, sometimes Paladin. I'm kind of tank fluid in that regard. And healer, definitely Scholar. I love the complexity of Scholar. And then I usually play Dancer if I play Fizz range.
Okay, and Amy, do you have anything for the?
Yeah, I main Gunbreaker as a tank, but I also like Dark Knight. I haven't really tried Warrior Paladin enough to say much about them. As for healer, I'm really loving Sage so far, but I started as an astrologian on healer because I love astrology and tarot cards. No, I'm kidding. And then on DPS, I absolutely hate DPS. I hate it. I have only 2 DPS. Two DPS? Just I only have 2 DPS at level 90, but I have, like, 5 tanks at level 90, 5 tanks and healers at level 90, if that says anything, but I have Samurai, Red no, I have 3 DPS because I have Dancer now too, but I guess Red Mage is my favorite, DPS because it's pretty.
What do you hate about it, about DPS?
I hate having to do damage, which is
Wait,
funny because
wait.
I'm
Everybody
playing
loves that.
Gunbreaker, which is
DPS.
3 DPS in a trench coat. I know. I think it's because I think because I'm a tank and I main tank and I do all my Savage content on tank now too, and so I think of everything backwards. So every time I'm on DPS,
Oh,
I
the boss is the
know
wrong
all
way
the
around.
mechanics, but they're all backwards. And I'm so confused. I'll do call outs and I'll be like left, right, and they'll be like, Amy, that's wrong. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because
Yes.
I call out everything stage left and right now because
Yeah.
that's how I view myself as a tank because I'm always facing the boss and everybody else is not. And so I have a really hard time adjusting between being a tank and then being DPS. Whereas as healer, I'm just like, avoid damage,
That makes
heal, do a
so
little
much
pew
sense.
pew.
I
Whereas
love
like
that.
when and so I hate doing DPS because it feels like everything is backwards and confusing. Because I've been tanking since almost the beginning. I started as an archer to bard to dancer pipeline, and then I was like, "There's Gunbreaker. I love Squall. Let's go." you know. And then I've just been a tank ever since. I've done all my hard content on tank. I do all of my new content on tanks.
And hopefully this next question is something that is a separate question. What's your favorite job quest story? Starting
you
with
got?
Amy.
Dark Knight. Hands down, one of the best storylines in the entire game is the Dark Knight job quest series. It's which is like most of the job quests are especially the older ones feel a little inane and like frustrating because you're like this is the year of our Lord 2023. But the Dark Knight job quest is like insanely well written and so like it could be a standalone storyline just by itself. Is for sure by far the
Ishikawa.
best one. And then unpopular opinion, The Alchemist no, yeah, Alchemist? Alchemist storyline is really good. It's one of the crafter job quests, and I feel like people sleep on the crafter quest because they just, like, barrel through it so that they can get rid of their crafters, but the alchemist and the goldsmithing quest lines are actually really stellar.
Yeah, hard agree. Hard agree. Was about to mention the Goldsmith and Alchemist are so memorable.
So memorable, and especially the
Sephirin as the
alchemist
teacher.
one.
Yeah,
Oh my god,
it's
and the alchemist quest line, like, I'm so shocked that that is the alchemist quest line because
yeah,
it tells you really important lore
yeah,
about one of the characters in A Realm Reborn that you're like,
yeah,
"What?"
yeah. It's like very much tied into 1.0 content as well,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
blew my
it's
mind.
so good. It's if
For a
you've done A
crafter,
Realm Reborn, for a crafter to, like, be that in depth, I feel like Alchemist and Dark Knight held hands, whoever wrote those stories, like, one and the same kind of vibe.
Dark Knight is definitely written by Ishikawa.
Ishikawa, yeah.
Yeah,
As
but
well as Rogue. She wrote Rogue in AR, Dark Knight, that's I know. Maybe she did Alchemist, honestly. It wouldn't surprise me with the tone in that storyline.
Yeah.
I
And then
need to
Goldsmith's
unlock
just
another
funny.
crafter. I know which one.
Yes, and
now.
Alchemist
Goldsmith
is
as
the
well.
one.
Goldsmith
So
has a
good.
horny robot, a horny mammoth. It's gold.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Bonk.
Goldsmith is
Yeah.
just fun for the, like for the comedy, but Alchemist is actually a genuinely good storyline that, like, hits you like, you don't expect it because they're crafter storylines, they're, like, throwaway storylines, but actually, it's devastating.
Yeah.
Okay, Daimorty, do you have a different favorite job quest or similar?
Yes, like for me, the when we go all the way back to ARR, the one that still hangs with me and I love the most is the Arcanist storyline. It's an ARR storyline. It's a weaker storyline, but the themes were so adult in that like kind of silly, like haha, you're like a tax officer, go to these things and make sure that nobody is breaking any tax laws. And from that, and it just like barrels through like very adult themes and it's very mature and the characters were kind of great. And then when you get it to be a summoner after that, I love that the Summoner ARR quest ties in directly with the main story and gives you so much backstory that you're missing out on because it's not explained anywhere else. Like you destroy a bad guy in there, like a main story bad guy just gets destroyed in that side story. I was like, after I played started that quest, I was like, wait, I should have played this in ARR. And then honorable mention, like Dark Knight is great. Honorable mention goes to the Rogue storyline. The Rogue storyline is fantastic. It's also an Ishikawa storyline. And she's one of the best writers that the game has, and it's so fun. So fun. Great pirate adventure.
And Inochi, what about you? What's your favorite job quest story?
Well, don't come for me, but Dark Knight, I think, is the only job quest that I haven't skipped. I usually just, I'm sorry, but I usually skip through the job quest. But I think because Bard just bored me so much, and I just
The
care about
gay
Archer.
boys.
Yeah,
They're in love.
I just cared about
I
Bard
love the
so much.
Bard.
But it made no sense.
They're gay. That's the
story,
sense it makes.
But the
If
B
you look
plot
at
is
it-
I'm
like,
sorry.
If you
I'm sorry.
look at Bard and you see them as a couple that it's in love with each other but in denial, it's perfect. It's like such a good storyline then. Suddenly everything makes sense.
Also, yeah, Dark Knight is just something that really stuck out to me for like 8 years of playing so much story in this game, not only main story but all the side content, etc. And yeah, only the Dark Knight job quest really stick out to me. So I think if I have to pick a favorite, that's gonna be it.
Nice. I found some questions that you guys in chat have actually pushed forward.
Questions.
So now we're gonna go through a couple of those before we move on through the scripted stuff.
Bard
Paul,
gays. I need to rewatch this.
If you see them, if you view those two guys as gays, suddenly the quest line is
Yeah, maybe I just don't
100%
remember it
better.
well because it was 8 years ago.
Paul asked a question specifically. This is Paul Craig. Asked this question specifically for Daimorti. Does the phrase "tea" trigger you yet?
no, never.
What does that mean?
T is there is different PvE difficulties in the game, and the T, the Epic of Alexander, is an ultimate fight. It's the hardest content we have in the game, and I just started progging T as my first ultimate. And no, I'm not sick of it. I will beat this thing. Okay, P3, here I come.
Okay.
I am not gonna get destroyed by BJ and CC. Okay.
so many shorthands to not be spoilers. The ultimate content is like the highest content you could do in the game. It's like the hardest raids. Right now, everybody's throwing their heads against top. That's what we call it.
It would be fair to say that it's the hardest PvE content in most MMOs. Like you won't find something as hard as Ultimate.
Yeah,
like every mistake kills the party. Like you make one mistake, everyone's dead for the most part. And it's like 15 to like 25-minute long fights.
Yeah.
Of
They
like
are
very high focus.
devastating. Yeah. And on top of that, on top of also like being pretty, like you have to be pretty good at the game to do them. You have to be really good at your role to do them, your job. You have to understand your job and everybody else's job, how it affects your job. And then you have to schedule 8 players times to be coinciding with each other multiple times a week for at least 3-ish plus hours.
Yeah. And to get ready to see the same thing and hear the same music 50 to 200 times in repeat without making any progress. But then you get that one good pull and you're like, yes, that's why we do this.
Tomato has asked, and this is for any of you, all of you, best 14 boss theme.
Oh no, the music questions are always very difficult as well.
There is so many good ones. It's hard to pick. For me
An
right now.
honorable mention for King Moogamog.
Yes. Good King Moogamog. For me, it's Scream, the P7S, the latest raid here.
Scream
That
is
one,
very good.
it's just so good. The lyrics, the music, it's a rocky. It's just right up my alley, and I love it. But there's so many good ones. It's very hard to pick.
Yeah, all the new Alliance raid songs are so good.
Yes.
They are a bop.
I mean, also the 5.3 Extreme Trial, such a banger. I don't remember the name of the song, sadly.
I have a soft spot for all the Final Fantasy VIII. So the whole Eden series is like
it's so
9
beautifully
PM.
rearranged.
It's so good.
It's so beautiful. To me, is my favorite would be Wayward Daughter. Goodness, the Tsukuyomi.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
It's
That
so
is
sad. There is boss themes in this game that make it harder to play the fight because you're crying. Like you hear the notes, you start the fight, you do the pull, and then you just start sobbing. It's like, I can't see the mechanics through my tears.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with Hoverbot here. Like, to the edge. No, wait. Ultima. No, wait. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's like all of them at the same time.
But yeah, the Tsukuyomi trial is my favorite, so the music is played there. So the Wayward Daughter is my pick.
I knew he'd asked a tough question. That's a really tough question.
Oh yeah, music always.
We've got another one as well from Anna Miranda asking best Final Fantasy XIV villain.
Oh, we can't say his name, can we? We all know who it is.
We know. We all
all
know.
know who
5.1?
it is.
Yeah,
Everybody?
5.0. I would
If
5.0.
say
your
then.
guys' favorite X packs are Endwalker or are Shadowbringers, you know who we're talking about.
You
Yeah.
can't top him. You can't top him. We can't say it. It's the Shadowbringers
We
big
can't
boss.
say it. It's a really big spoiler.
Yeah.
But we all know who it is.
Yeah.
Just, but we
it
all
is
agree.
a
I love it.
masterclass. A masterclass
He
of
is
writing
the
a villain. Because
best
he's not a
villain.
villain. He's an antagonist. Like
He's
he goes with you
everything.
through the expansion. You fall in love with him. Like he does horrible things. Evil
If
things.
you
Horrible
have
genocidal
played
things.
Final Fantasy XV, you already know.
Like
But
he's
it's
done terrible
it's
things.
similar.
But you go through the story and he explains his reasoning and you're like, I'm not sure I wouldn't have done the same if I were in your shoes.
He's a very gray antagonist.
It's like when you defeat him at the
Oven.
end, you're not happy about it. You're sad. You're sad that you had to do it. You had to do it. You had to. There was no way around it. You were two opposite poles. Two sides of
Ugh.
the. It
But
didn't
then
work out. But you're so
Endwalker.
sad. And then
But then
Endwalker just like,
Endwalker! Oh my god.
why? Why? Just why did you do that? Oh my god. Yes.
I
But
love.
we have a favorite one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
This is what I love about Final Fantasy XIV players is the absolute enthusiasm, just the adoration for this game.
It's so funny because this character that we're talking about, that I know we're all talking about very vaguely, is when the Japanese people were designing him, they wanted to design him ugly because he was supposed to be a bad character. But in fact, they actually just made kind of an older, handsome man that
Yeah.
was tired looking, and everybody fell head over heels, and they were like,
Yeah.
"We love the tired businessman."
Final
look."
Fantasy. Final Fantasy doesn't
Yeah.
know how to make
And
ugly villains.
They have no idea. And it's so funny because they were like, "This is our ugly villain. Here, have it." And everybody's like, "Make him naked."
They do this every time, and they do it on purpose because they know how thirsty we are. They make a villain in a boss fight, and he's ugly, and then you get him below a certain percentage of health, and the face switches, and then you're just like, oh
And
no,
he's hot
He's
again.
hot.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's hot.
Oh my god, like
and now he's hot.
Valkyrie?
Yeah, Wolfie. It's like, wait,
Why
he's
did
hot.
they do that to us?
I'm glad they didn't change the voice because I would have had conflicting feelings.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, we have a little shrine for this best antagonist in our Free Company house. So
Yeah, many do.
his his
But I have
portrait is
to-
like in the middle of the wall with lights and everything.
They only just released his portrait recently, but they released
Yeah.
it in HD, and everybody went to the zone to unlock it.
Yeah.
You have to fight 60 fates, which are these like mob fights that spawn throughout the region, like every so often. But you have to fight 60 of them in that region to unlock their picture, and everybody and their mom was there because they
Yeah.
needed the HD picture of this particular villain in their houses.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, like, he's not just a good Final Fantasy villain. I think that in media, literature, gaming, this character is one of the best written villains ever.
He also won Japan's poll for the most popular Final Fantasy character.
Yes. I love that we've never once said his name, but we all know exactly who we're talking
Second
know.
was Waka, but
We know.
Waka.
But he
Yeah,
was
well, that's
first.
because the Japanese are delusioned. It's okay.
Another question that we've got, actually, this one might be quite funny results. Sarah the Bard has asked, best username that you've seen in game?
There's so many.
There is so many.
There's
There
the
is so
biggest,
many I can't
biggest.
say because they're so
Oh.
dirty.
Was this
My
PG?
favorite is Susie Bing Bong. I don't know. There's something simple in it, Susie Bing Bong, but
I don't know the best. I know the most
Hope they
recent.
watch.
It was a
And
Lalafell called Falafel Fell,
Oh, that's funny.
and I just couldn't stop laughing.
I've seen small Alphino and large Alphino, and small
Yeah.
Alphino is a Lalafell Alphino, and then a large Alphino is a
Oh.
Hrothgar
Yeah,
Alphino.
those are great.
And then there's this regular Cryptodon Cactar who is always at all the crafting and gathering things because they're like one of the highest crafters and gatherers in our server right there. And his name is Biggest Dickus. So anytime I'm at anytime I'm at a legendary fish hole and it's like, one of those really small, stupid windows and you're waking up at a stupid time, there's Biggest Dickus off in the horizon, also fishing with me.
Yeah, Allegains. I love Allegains as well.
Leonardo Dojinshi, I've seen that kind of a player. So
You can make some really good
Vaselina
snakes.
Jolie, I remember.
Oh, Ariana
Oh, no.
Gradania. I have Ariana Gradania. Gradania is one of the city states. And then there's also Taylor Swiftcast. Swiftcast is a spell.
Oh,
That's good. That's good.
Those are all in Cactar. I love them so
That is
much.
really smart.
Beautiful. We'll go back to our set questions. Guys in chat, if you have any more that you would love to throw away, I know that there are a few more that you guys have already chucked in, but if you do want to chuck more in, it's a channel point redemption that all you have to do is just put your question there so it gets saved so that I can find it nice and easily. We're going back to the quest types actually. Amy, what different quest types do you get other than the mainline story events?
So there is like small little side quests that just like kind of pepper the landscape, like little delivery quests or fetch quests or like random things like that. Then there's the tribe quests, which every X pack has like a group of tribes and you help them with their quests and you can rank up with those tribes. And then generally there will be an overall quest that covers all of the rank ups of those tribes. Then you have your job quests, of course, your crafting quest, your gathering quest. And then you'll have the alliance raid quests, which unlock the really big 24-man raids that you do in the game. There's one for each X pack, and each of those have 3 raids within them. Then there's special zone quests like Eureka and Baja, which are like end game zone quests where it's like a whole separate section that you have to level up separately from everything else. Then there's trials, and then there's what are the Alexander quest line? There's the trials
There's
where
so
you get
much.
trials that are like the primal characters or like end boss characters where it's 8 people, but then you have the trial. What are the Alexander raid quests called? Essentially, they're like
Those are
that's
8-man
what
raids.
the 8-man raids. The
Yeah, just the
8-man
raid
raids
quests
are
only,
like
yeah.
the ones that become savage raids later, and
Mhm.
those are all quests that you unlock. So everything. There's everything.
And Hildebrand.
And Hildebrand, yes, Paul.
Oh,
We're
there's
not
the
forgetting about
comedy quest
Hildebrand.
line. There's
Yes.
Hildebrand. You can't forget him.
No,
You have
there's
to be
just
drunk you have
so
to be
much,
drunk.
really.
If you start Hildebrand, make sure you have some whiskey next to you.
If you like slapstick comedy, Hildebrand is like right up your alley.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of slapstick comedy, so Hildebrand, I was like, I'm all. This is everything.
Okay, and crafting has been mentioned quite a lot this evening. Daimorty, could you talk us through the crafting mini game and all the fun that you can have with it?
That is
Mini
rather
game.
insulting to call it mini game.
I know, I know.
It's end game, not
Yes, it
mini
is.
game.
It's not a mini game. There is
Fun is
there is
subjective.
yeah. But if you're not having fun crafting, you're wrong. So there is 8 crafting jobs: carpenter, blacksmith, armorsmith, goldsmith, stuff like that. We talked about alchemist. There's 3 gathering jobs that support those jobs. You gather the materials and then you craft the materials, and all of the crafting jobs interconnect. So like one makes stuff that the other needs. You make like rivets as a blacksmith that you need as a carpenter to make a bed or whatever. And it's not just like in other games where you pick it up and then you click like 2 buttons and you're done crafting. No, it is an actual job. You have to level it. You have an actual story, as we talked about. Every 5 levels you do a story quest, just like with the combat jobs. You get more skills. You unlock more techniques to craft. And then by the end of it, you have more buttons as a crafter than some of the jobs. Like my summoner buttons, I have like half the buttons that my crafters have as my summoner, as my combat job. Because you have so many skills to craft with. And then you go into this like mini game style where you craft something and you click the right buttons at the right time and you craft something. And there's like a system where you want to increase the quality before you finish the craft, so it's higher value, but then it has a durability. So if your durability goes to 0, you fail. And yeah, without going too much in depth, it's a whole ecosystem. It is very heavily integrated into endgame. When a new raid tier releases, you can make a big
So
amount of
much
money by just crafting raid gear, which is something that Final Fantasy does as well to like respect the player's time. You don't have to grind anything. If you log into a fresh raid tier, you can just buy the gear and go in immediately because somebody crafted it for you. And you can do a lot of other fun things. And there's like so much with crafting, just so much. There's the legendary fish where it's 5 minutes every week where you can catch this particular fish and you get nothing for it except an achievement. You get
Or
there's
every
no
2
point in doing
weeks.
that. Like there's absolutely no point in doing it. You're just doing it for the fishing sake, and there's just so much.
You
It's an
can't
entire
even put
world.
it in your
Fun.
fish tank.
Yeah, it's completely pointless, but you still do it. You still go there. And yeah, it's an entire ecosystem. You can make a lot of money with it. You can ignore it completely. It's 100% optional. But it's super fun. For me, personally.
Tomatoes
I
just
just
written.
finished
Fishing is never pointless.
Yeah, I just finished today. I finished all Endwalker crafting and gathering relics. I'm done. I have not a single Mandeville relic, but I have all my craft and gatherers done.
Priorities.
Priorities, exactly.
Congrats. Inochi, briefly describe the many areas of Final Fantasy XIV and how they differ from each other.
So as you know, the Final Fantasy XIV is quite big, so the locations are really, really well. How to find a good word? They're just very versatile. But I think something you will see in every Final Fantasy game really is just going to go from like the forest areas into like the beachside areas to ruins and dungeons and a snowy area. So like everything you can imagine in the JRPG or in an RPG. All of them are here, but also very unique ones like a location that is basically just a giant casino, right? For example, the forest with the fairies. Yeah, thank you for reminding. The forest with the bunnies, right? Eventually, you even end up on the moon. Or at the end of the universe. So yeah, like just everything you can possibly think of. Truly.
Yeah, it sounds like it includes everything, literally everything. We've got a video from JJ, who may be known as Snowman in this chat, depending on where he is. Let me just get this video up and see how everybody feels. If you agree with everything that he says, let me just get him on.
What's up, everybody? JJ here from Game Room Revival on YouTube, answering the age-old question, what do I love about Final Fantasy XIV? There's honestly so much, but I will tell you the biggest thing that I love about this game, and the main reason that I recommend it to so many people. If you're an introvert like me, and you aren't really into, like, interacting with a lot of other people on a regular basis, but you still want to explore, like, a huge game world that, has so many other players at the same time. Basically, like, the idea of gaming with other people, but without having to interact with them. This is perfect for that. You can obviously play with other people if you want to as well, but I love this in the fact that you're basically playing a single-player game online. Sure, there are dungeons and stuff that you run with other people and everything like that, but it's such a small part of it. The story and the adventures that you go on, the places you explore and everything, you can absolutely do that solo. And I also love the fact that with the storytelling, you are influential. You are like the main character in that. Whereas most other MMOs, like I played World of Warcraft for years, love it, but I wasn't always crazy about how my character always seemed to just be a background character. What I mean is like the world itself in WoW is the main character. And the events that are going on, you're just along for the ride. In this, you are the main character. You are the one that everybody comes to when there's an issue, and you're the one solving the problems. And it's just so much fun, and you really feel like you are the hero in your own story. And of course, it's Final Fantasy, so it's amazing. So absolutely, if you have not tried this game, give it a shot because it's amazing, and I think you'll love it.
So, does that resonate with you guys? Do you feel this sort of similar feelings? I don't know if any of you guys came from a WoW background, but when he was saying about the story and feeling a part of it, do you guys feel that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's spot on. No, he's right. In most MMOs, like especially WoW, especially with how they like managed it, like with every expansion, like the story resets kind of. You always have this like, oh, you're the hero that defeated like this cosmic horror being, and then next time, hey, can you go kill 3 wolves for me because I don't know who the hell you are. And in 14, it is a Final Fantasy game, right? You meet characters in your first few hours that you will then go on to be best friends in game right at the end. They'll be right next to you at the end when everything hits the fan. They'll be there with you, and they have had a character growth, and you've been up and down with them, and you care about them. You care about the characters, and it's very nice. I have to very agree. It's very nice in 14. They bring back things all the time. Like you can meet somebody in a Realm Reborn, and then in Endwalker, that character just shows up and it's like, hey, remember me? We've done this and this like 5 years ago. I hear you are this big hero. Can you do this and this? And they're like, yeah, that's awesome. Like you're not. It's a persistent story and world that you're in, and it feels great.
I like that Spooky's written in chat. I love how solo or not it is, especially with all the upgrades to the games we're getting. Sometimes I want to play alone, sometimes I want to be with people.
Yeah, that's the great focus right now with every patch and every expansion. They're trying to put in more ways for you to just do the entire game solo, so you can experience just the Final Fantasy game of it and not the MMO, which is perfectly fine. You can already do it in a lot of scenarios where, aside from going to a dungeon and being like, hi, cool, bye, there is no interaction needed. You can just play the game for the story.
And even doing
sorry.
it solo brings even more benefits because you can get even closer to the NPCs. You can get to know them even more. They all have their little story in the dungeon as well, so you can get a completely different perspective while playing solo or with the trust. It's called the trust system. The
Cool.
NPCs.
Yeah.
And as you just mentioned dungeons, I have a question that may be a bit too open to answer. But we'll it's for everyone. We'll start with Inochi. What's your favorite and least favorite zone, dungeon, or region, and why?
So my favorite location is the Goal Saucer. I definitely don't have a gambling addiction, but I just really love the mini games over in there. I can spend literally entire day doing the mini games there, grinding the MGPs. Just really, really love all the inside games over there. I really like Gridania just to chill, like my little free company house that we have. With our husbando walls and the dance floor. So yeah, Gridania Lavender Beds, my free company house. It does really feel like a house. Love it very much. If I would have to pick least favorite region, I would pick Eureka, the entire Eureka dungeon from Stormblood.
Amy's
Pharaohs, I
reaction.
Yeah, it brought a lot of pain. I still haven't finished it. I just do it for one mount and I suffer, and I still haven't cleared the freaking Baldassian arsenal, and I really don't want
It is so fun. Let me carry you. I love that
please
place.
help.
Please, yes.
We need.
I did like a series of streams where my entire community and I leveled up from 1 to 60, and we all went to Baldesian Arsenal, and like I want to say all of us cleared it except maybe 1 or 2 people who just weren't yet ready for it.
I only have BA to do, like it's left, but it's so intimidating after the entire journey at Eureka.
My God. But maybe it's because you guys are over there, but our data center, Aether, Crystal, and Aether specifically, we're super duper organized. We have an entire Discord. Everybody goes in there, they do call outs, and then we get out. It's like an hour and a half, and then we're in and out. And I've cleared it like 3 or 4 times now, I think.
I really want to do
and
it. I want the awesome amount.
I think we have
with
it.
Discords too. We have that too, but it's
we have a Discord on in Europe as well.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
just
just
go
intimidated.
into it. I do my weeklies. I try to level up, and then you hit that one quest where you're like, okay, now click that thing behind those 10 level like the enemies 10 levels above
I'm
you.
here.
Good
I'm
luck.
here to help you. I will
And it's
help
just
you.
like, why? Why did you? Why are they? Why? Okay, I don't want to have to do this.
It's
And then you
really
have to like
painful.
tiptoe
It's
around.
really
It's just so
painful.
annoying. And then eventually, like, I got to the last zone and was like, okay, do this. And then maybe tomorrow.
Well, it's just
Or
my
tomorrow. Or
subjective
tomorrow. And, yeah,
opinion,
I
but
haven't been back.
like the least favorite. It's not like I hate it or
I
anything, but the
think
least
I
favorite thing I've done in Final Fantasy XIV, I think it would be Eureka.
I think it's because all of our community did it together, so it's like really near and dear to me.
Yeah, I
Because
had
we,
like me
all
and other
brought
friends,
ourselves
so
through. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
No one else had mental capacity to
Mm.
join.
Understandable. It's a lot. It's a lot of suffering, but I think my particular community really loves suffering. And so like all the horrible things that people hate, we're like, let's do it. You know?
So Amy, what is your favorite and least favorite zone, dungeon, or region?
My least favorite zone is probably Ozzy's Law because there's only one aetheryte and it is very large. And everything is like miles up and miles down from each other. So anytime you go into Ozzy's Law to get
The music is
anything,
really
to
freaky there as well.
gather, to craft, to fish, to
Plays with you.
scratch your butt, it's like terrible. You just drive for days. I will literally like press auto run and then leave and make an entire dinner and come back and be halfway to my destination. So I hate it there. My favorite zone, I really, really like the new tribe zone right now. I spend a lot of time there without
music.
spoiling anything.
Yeah.
The music is so good. The dance floor is so good. That's my current favorite zone right now. But I think my area that I have the most fond memories in is the firmament restoration area. So, the deranged crafting on the floating islands is probably the deranged gathering on the floating islands is probably one of my favorite places. That
Beautiful.
music haunts me.
And Daimorti, what about yourself?
Yeah, Azazla is a good shout for like a not great design zone, and I definitely have like a hate spot for Azazla because of the one NPC in the middle with the triple triad card. I had 128 tries to get that card. Took me forever. He just wouldn't give me the cards. But I think my least favorite is probably the first two Giarbania zones of Stormblood, just because of how drab the area was, how the story didn't catch me at all. Like it just like burnt me out, and how absolutely outrageously annoying the ether currents were placed in that zone. It took me so long to get one of them for no reason, just because they put it on like this little thing where you had to go and then jump over like mountain peaks. That's definitely my least favorite zone, I think. And my most favorite zone, the new tribe area, I think takes the cake easily. It's the best thing they've ever done. It's so silly. I love it.
So silly and good.
I have the music playing in the 10-hour loop like every day.
Without any and without any spoilers, it's just an area that you can go and vibe in, and it's so different from anything else that they've put into the game.
Yeah.
So when did the tribe area release then? How recent is it?
2 weeks ago.
2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. It's super new.
Nice.
It was a surprise. Yeah. And with the tribe areas, the best thing about them is you do these like daily quests for them, and then you get reputation with them. And when you hit the reputation cap, you do a quest, and then the area changes. Like you help them change the area, and it changes in game. And the changes are so wholesome and so lovely, and it's so great. Like
Goose in
Devil
chat
Crafter,
is
please.
Goose is asking, what is that place called? I want to look up the song that they're talking about.
It's in Bestway Burrows, which I feel like is innocuous enough to talk about. So Bestway Burrows, and it's the Loporit tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should be. Yeah. If you just look up Loporit tribe music, you're gonna get the 10-hour loop. It's amazing.
Everyone in chat is searching for that right now.
It's always my be right back music during streams as well.
Oh,
So
it's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
It's too nice.
Thank you guys in chat for all helping out there. So my next question, you did just mention Daimorti. NPCs. Do you have a favorite NPC, and what is it about them that you love? Now, this is for everyone, but we'll start with Daimorti.
Listen, I can
The fanboy mode active.
I
Yeah.
can choose my favorite expansion, but my favorite NPC, I can't. It's their family. Like it's so hard to. I mean, probably like favorite. I guess the villain we talked about is like on like a level that is like unattainable for anything else right now. But like all the characters that like follow you around that you meet have such a special place. Like all of them have a unique way. Like the people that like go with you through all of the expansions are family. Like you are a family in the end. They're fictional characters, but they feel like friends. They feel familiar. You understand them. You understand their motivations. Nothing they do surprises you, except when they pull some very fun things in some dungeons and post content with some of them. Water, froth and foam. But yeah, no, I don't think I can pick. I think like favorite is just the villain that we talked about already, just because of how well written it is. But I love them all. There's so many good characters in this game.
Okay, and Amy, what about you? Do you have a favorite NPC?
So I have a favorite NPC, and my community knows this really well. But I first want to preface this with my community is us. We're the type of people that like get really obsessed with NPCs and will make an entire alt based off of that NPC looking identical to that NPC. Half my free company is just like ridiculous NPC like hybrids, recreations, and okay, to preface that, because my community is deranged about NPCs and we have a deep obsession about all of the NPCs that showed up for maybe 10 seconds and suddenly they're like the best thing ever. My favorite NPC is Real. And most people will not know who Riol is. I think he was literally just on the screen right now, which is why I was like this earlier. I was like, "What? Why is Riol on the screen?" Because I can recognize him. But essentially, he is a Realm Reborn, NPC, and he has no voice actor, which I am very bitter about because Hori Boulder got a voice actor and he is absolutely useless and has done nothing for us in the game. I stand by this.
No.
But Riol literally
Slander.
saved Alphino's entire ass with the Braves incident, okay? And Riol still doesn't have a voice actor. But Riol is he doesn't have a voice actor. He shows up in A Realm Reborn. He's really important during that, and like throughout Stormblood, Heavensward, and Shadowbringers, you actually refer to him and he like helps you with like sundry things and like spying stuff because he's kind of a spy essentially for it in his role in like the Scions group. And then at the very end of Endwalker, when you think he's gonna say something, because suddenly he shows up again, he's important again. He still doesn't have a voice. Everybody and their mother got a voice in Endwalker, especially Hori Boulder and his compatriot, I don't know, Carrot Sticks. And whatever her name is. And Riol literally is like, well, you know, I'll see you. I'm gonna go explore the new worlds. And he's just like, we'll catch up. And if he doesn't get one in 7.0, I'm gonna lose my tits. Anyway.
It's so insane how tangential this character is, but how important he is and like how well implemented he is. And he's always there. And you always recognize him. Like
always
you never had a voice
him.
actor. You never really do anything with him. Like
but you do tons of stuff with him.
Well, you do stuff like you do a lot of stuff with, but nothing like big and memorable. But he's always there. And you're always just like,
he is
hey,
your
Real,
bro.
he's
He
here.
is there.
He's a real bro. Yes,
you. He's like
he's
your
a real bro.
Your homie. Like he's one of the homies. You know, like you go and you get a pizza with him at 3 a.m. when you're drunk as a skunk, kind of feeling. You know, Real is your bro. He's got blonde hair and a pirate patch eye.
He
was a hero before we were heroes because he was a hero in 1.0.
He's a Giga Chat. Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway.
I want to change my answer.
I could talk about this man forever, and I am maybe one of 3 people who love him. And I do have an alt that is Real Forest. Forest is, by the way, his last name, chat, if you didn't know. Because I know. Because I can tell you his lineage.
Are you in there in that lineage as a wife?
Anyway, Real is my favorite NPC.
Okay, guys.
That was nice.
Inochi? Do you have
Oh
a
no!
favorite?
Oh, how to pick a favorite? Oh, that's such. It's Grahatia. It's Grahatia. No one else compares to him. No. I would eat his dirty socks.
Oh.
Grahatia.
I don't think I would do that, but I would do a lot with that man, yes.
Yes. I could let it out. It's Grahatia. He's just the best friend, the support,
I'm still waiting on
the
that Ishka
suffering
date.
bearer.
You're so in love with your character, like throughout the
Yeah.
whole story.
Yeah, and I like being loved that way. So I get it. I buy it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's so well, like, he just, like, the
very
way...
dedicated.
You can't
He's
talk
your
about
best
it because it's
friend.
so much
Sweet.
He's like
spoilering,
your
but
bestie.
he's so good. He's just so
Oh,
well
his
written.
storyline is very good. He's
Like,
very good.
he goes through some, like, one of the most profound events you can imagine, and he just comes
Huge.
out the other end as this, like, giddy little kid and just excited and, like, your friend, and he
Excited
just
to
wants
live
to be your
his
friend,
life.
and he just wants to be here for you, and yeah, it's such a good guy.
He never got a chance to like live, and so Ugh.
That's why we're here to help him out. But yeah, he went through a lot, but still, I just really like the character. They resonates with me when they're like going through something very traumatic and like sad, but they are still able to be like positive and just keep on going and be very strong and smile and just look at the positive things. Like, hey, at least we're in this together. This sort of stuff. So it's very uplifting for me as a person. Like, what makes me keep going as well. Like, oh, I wouldn't give up. Let's keep going. This sort of thing. I love him very much. And yeah, his storyline is something that really, really touched me. One of my other favorite characters is Yotsui as well. Really like her storyline. Yeah, a lot of spoilers there, but I think she's very well written, very tragic character.
Lovely.
So there, those
Do
two.
it for him, exactly.
Those two.
Very nice. I'm gonna go back to the chat questions because we've still got quite a few that you guys have sent through. Paul asked for all of you, are there any dungeons, raids, fights which you instantly nope out of when they come up on roulettes?
Nope out.
Nope out?
Yeah, you just go.
That's a penalty?
Nope.
How dare you?
I wouldn't like leave or rage quit, but whenever I see Evilist raids, I'm like, oh no, that's gonna be the pain.
You don't like math?
I do like it, but I
is
know
not a prime, guys. It's not a prime.
But I
One
know that
is a
others
prime.
don't do. Like, I just can't trust others in those. Like, it's always just such a like, it's so easy. Why don't you get it? Like, I usually I'm not getting mad at like people in this game, but with Evilist raids, it's a little bit tough. Yeah, but I would never leave though. I would never leave. I always try my best, and like I'm like, oh, if people don't get it, like, hey, can I help you somehow? Like, oh, the red triangle, that's a stack, you know. Don't run away with this. But yeah, sometimes it's a pain.
Same answer for me every time. If it's Rabanastra, I'm just like, no.
It's
Especially
just
after the stat squish. Oh my god, it's so easy to wipe on the second boss now. And on all of them. No, yeah, if it's Evilist, I'm just like, oh no. Because it's at least 40 minutes, right? It's at least 40 minutes of your time. Plus
on a
probably
good
a
day.
wipe.
On a good day.
Yeah, it's no. But yeah, I wouldn't leave either. Like, I don't. It's not nice to leave. And I'll be like, no, you have to do this and this, and then behind the screen I'm gonna be like, but in chat I'm gonna be like, no, it's fine, it's okay. You know, you're not a sprout. You have every character at level 90, but it's fine that you don't know a Heavensward stack marker.
That's
it's
the
fine.
thing. That's the thing. It's Evilist is level 70, so you kind of have some expectations already from people. But yeah. How about you, Amy?
I used to definitely be up there with you guys with the Evilist raids. And then recently I queued into a near raid, and I there's a lot of new folks getting into the game recently, and they are just hitting that Shadowbringers mark, and they are just starting their alliance raid journey with the near raids. And I ran those near raids every single week, every single day for so
Mhm.
long when I was doing Savage content back in Shadowbringers and getting my, BIS and upgrading all my gear and getting all my level 80 stuff to max when I was doing all those Eden raids and so those alliance raids are like seared into my brain. Like I could do them completely asleep. I have done them completely asleep. And I recently queued into the second one, I think Puppets Bunker. And I have never wiped so many times. And I've never noped out of a raid before, but on that day, I was like,
Oh no.
maybe it's time to leave because it has been 2 years and I am not growing younger today. I was able to, like limp through the raid and make it to the end broken and alone, but like but it was pretty painful. Now I'm really scared when I queue into new raids because it means it's a lot of like new sprouts who don't want to use their eyeballs anymore.
Yeah,
And
Orban
that's
Monastery
okay.
does that for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I have a question that I think actually Inochi you answered in chat from Zessel. It was aimed at Inochi. Did you ever participate in the greatest raid ever known, Rauben's Wall? Is that how you pronounce it?
Rauben's Wall.
Oh, yeah.
So on the day of release of Stormblood, I was very excited. Like I made a makeup and everything. It was a huge deal. I prepared better than for a first date to sit and play Stormblood. 2 hours into the main story, there is there's a solo instance with Roban trying to queue up, disconnects from the server, trying to queue up again, disconnects from the server, the cutscenes couldn't play. And there was just so many people playing that day that we couldn't, like the servers couldn't handle a solo instance. And that is called the Great Roban Wall. We couldn't, we just couldn't continue the main story because of that solo instance. We couldn't do it by ourselves. And I was there. People in game were physically with their characters queuing up to the Roban NPC. Because they thought maybe it's gonna do something if we're just gonna queue like one by one. But it didn't really do anything. So I remember I woke up the next day, 6 a.m., got this instance out of the way, and so I can stream next day because I was like, this is gonna be a 12-hour stream. Let's go. And I got cut on like 2 hours. But yeah, there was new jobs, so I just focused on that during the day, not the main story. But yeah, it was something to remember for sure.
Square learned a very valuable lesson that day. They've never made this mistake again.
Yeah, they introduced like area instances, like more of them, and
the split, like in Shadowbringers and Walker, you split. You have like two choices where to go first.
Oh,
Do you want to go with character A or character B? They did that so that the player base gets split and not everybody's in the same zone.
Yeah, European Data Center
smart.
got also split. So we have 2 data centers now, but before it was just like one. So
I've got a question.
And it never happened again, actually.
Yeah. They learn. I've got a question from Hover, which I think is a really good question. What are your most wanted jobs for 7.0 besides Blitzballer?
They have to do Blitzball soon.
I hope I can throw balls at people.
Yeah.
I remember people asked Yoshida-san before Stormblood if we get like Blitzball in the game. He didn't say no, so maybe someday.
He laughed heartily at us, so maybe in 9.0.
It's funny because I had that question yesterday in chat, and I thought about it. Like for me personally, I would love like an Affliction Warlock class, like debuff DPS. I would really love that, but it's probably never gonna happen. Or like a Necromancer. I would love a Final Fantasy XIV version of a Necromancer, but probably also not going to happen. I think the next one's going to probably be like Geomancer, which is probably going to be like a Fizz range.
Yeah, it's really hard to say because we have so many. I always wanted to have a job that takes on mixing from Final Fantasy X Riku's Overdrive, like So you can like just mix abilities or like mix items or something and like create next abilities out of it. Somehow maybe like the ninja kind of plays, but maybe use
Like a
items a little bit
chemist.
more.
Like a
Yeah.
chemist. Like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
la, what is it?
Yeah.
A2 Tactics. A2 Tactics had a chemist.
So I never
Mm.
played
Um,
tactics, but yeah, that I think that would be something cool.
Every time they talk about the new jobs, because we just got 2 new jobs, so every X pack we get 2 new jobs, and, this one we just got Sage and Reaper, which are super duper fun. Really fun new jobs. One is a melee DPS and one is a DPS healer. I think we're overdue in order to keep it balanced and for the jobs to be even, we're probably overdue for a ranged melee. I think we're really low, like, yeah, we're overdue for a ranged melee, potentially a caster. Is It feels like those are the 2 things that are probably going to get released eventually. But every time anybody asks them about the new job classes, they're saying it's nothing like anything we're going to have
Yeah.
that we've ever
Yeah.
had in any
Mhm.
Final Fantasy game. So right off the bat, like Geomancer, Beastmaster, all of those favorites that a lot of people were hoping for, even Chemist, like
True.
that feels like it's all off the table. You know what I mean? Like
True.
something like
I think so.
Necromancer feels more probable to me than Geomancer,
Yeah, you're
Alchemist,
right.
and Beastmaster, based on the fact that Yoshida keeps saying that it's nothing we've seen in Final Fantasy world. So I'm looking at other MMOs to see what other job class have
Mm.
been successful there and seeing what would be implemented in our. So I imagine it'll be something like that's a ranged, that's a caster or a ranged DPS. And my first thought is actually something more like Necromancer, if we
Yeah.
were going down the route of not Final Fantasy.
It's a very hard question to answer now that we have Sage and Reaper because they're so different. Like
Mhm.
they fit in perfectly into the current game, but they're very different. Like Reaper is a melee job that can delay its burst for a double burst phase that was never done before. Sage is pure DPS with like I press a button and you don't die. Like it's so much more
Maybe.
focused on mobility. Yeah, maybe it's so much more focused. Like it's such a mobile healer. Like you don't feel like a
Both
healer.
of
Like you
them,
don't.
Reaper and Sage, are very mobile
Yeah, very
classes.
mobile. Yeah.
Yeah, healers really needed that. So for the people that
Yeah.
hate playing healers, just and casters really, just try
Sage
try
is great.
Sage.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Sage is a fire and forget healer. Like you don't have to set up like Scholar. Like you have to know the fight.
You have to
You
prep
can't
it.
react to
Mhm.
anything. Like you see a cast bar, you're too late. As a Sage, you see a cast bar. Oh, shield done. Helios done.
I'm really
Funheimer done.
satisfied with the current jobs. So when this question comes out, I never know because
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
hard.
I'm
Well,
sad. So
we have a DPS we have a DPS botany now, right? We have a DPS botanist. So we need a DPS miner and a DPS fisher. So I'm kind of
Absolutely.
seeing
Absolutely.
I see. Okay. Inochi, are there daily tasks with this game, and what's the incentive to log in daily?
So for me, I think the daily incentive that is the most attractive is definitely the bonus EXP that you can get from the daily roulettes. So basically, once a day, you can get a massive chunk of experience when you're leveling up all of the jobs to do a dungeon, an alliance roulette, specifically like level 90 dungeons. So that's that. We also have a specific battle currency that we have to fill up our weekly cap of it to exchange it for the best gear in game. So those roulettes also help out with gathering that currency, or like to cap it, right? To make it full, to get 100% of that weekly allowance that we get for for the currency. But I really like to level up all of the jobs, so I use that bonus EXP every single day. And we also mentioned the tribal quests, which is the zones and the quests that we do for like our little creatures in game, and helping them restore the areas. And there's a quest in there, and those also reset daily. There's some gold saucer, which is the casino currency daily reset that you can also do once a day. So there's actually plenty. There's a PVE. The PVE roulette that you can also PvP roulette that you can also do a daily. And yeah, I don't think I missed anything else.
Hover's
But
written, always
please
need the
remind me
daily
if-
cact pots.
Yes, that's
Cards.
the
Have to.
little lottery, scratchy
Gamba.
lottery.
Yeah.
Gamba.
Daimorti, the majority of the game is PvE, player versus environment, but there are some PvP versus player combats within 14 that people can get involved with. What bonuses do you get for competing in these? Is it something that most would want to take part in, or only a particular type of player?
No. The PvP scene in 14 is pretty small, especially because for the longest time, PvP in 14 was very segregated and very
Bad.
peculiar. Bad, yeah. You can say bad. It was pretty bad. It was a neglected part. It was what a lot of MMO players like had like a negative opinion about in 14 for the longest time, with good reason. The PvP scene was bad. It had a very small, very dedicated community, but it was not something that the general player base would ever engage with. Outside of the daily frontline roulette, which gave you half your XP bar for free. Like, they had to give you like a massive incentive to get people to play that game mode, because half your XP bar is obviously huge for like 10 minutes of work. So for the longest time, it was just like kind of a side thing that a very small minority did. With Endwalker, it was with Endwalker, I think. They revamped the PvP system. They simplified it. Instead of having like 30 abilities, all jobs have a set number of abilities per job. They have a very specific role. All of them have like a specific limit break. Like, the machinist has a sniper rifle that just like can like 80% to 0% somebody. The Dark Knight like sacrifices life, but then is immortal and like sucks life from everybody around him. Like, the dancer starts dancing and everybody in the vicinity can't move their characters anymore. Their characters just start dancing. You have no more control over them.
Charmed.
Yeah, that's completely charmed. So that they completely revamped it in that regard, and that made it a lot more approachable, a lot more fun. They also introduced a new arena mode, a 5v5 arena mode, 6v6. I play so much of it and I can't remember.
5v5, the crystalline
5v5.
conflict.
Yeah, Christian Conflict, which is like a
Mm.
little like very, very quick. Like, they did a very good thing here. Instead of these like big ass like battleground style like long ass matches that sometimes you have in MMOs where you like do PP for half an hour, it's a very quick like sign up 5 minutes or like 2 minutes if you're quick about it, if you do a quick win or quick loss. We just go in 5v5, have some fun, and it definitely rejuvenated the entire scene. And they gave you incentives by having you have like a level track. So you play PvP, you get experience, you level the track, and every time you get a level, you get a little reward. If you get to the breakpoints, you get like a mount, you get an armor set, you get a minion, and stuff like that. So there's like an incentive and a reward now for just casual PvP play outside of the very like small hardcore community that had like tournaments and stuff in their little world. And it made it a lot better, yeah. But it's still a very small part of 14.
Something that's been brought up quite a few times this evening. Amy, could you please explain to us the Gold Saucer? What is it? What do you do there? And what do you think of it?
It's a specific separate area. If anybody's played Final Fantasy VII, it's very similar to Final Fantasy VII. That's where all of the mini games in Final Fantasy XIV go to live. There's like puzzle jumping. There's using your little minions you collect to fight each other. There's chocobo racing. There's a lot of weird like little mini games, claw machines, find the mining hole. And then there's the scratch ticket and gambling. And there's actually a separate currency that you get from there too. And those currencies lead you to prizes, mounts, glams, music, etc., furniture, housing items, a dance pole,
Gotta mention the dance pole.
triple triad, mahjong, all of it is there. You spend an inordinate amount of time there because you want to get that currency, and also there's like special achievements you can get there as well. And it's also just a really like, if you're done with normal content and you're like sick of it, you're tired of the day, you just ran a raid, wiped 3 times. That's it. I'm going to the Golden Saucer and I'm going to chocobo race until I pass out.
And Inochi, could you explain the Mog Station, what it is and how you feel about it? It's the online store for buying cosmetic items, is that correct?
Yeah, the Moog station is generally when we can also track like our account thingies over there. Like subscription is like our account, Final Fantasy 14 account as well. But yeah, there is a tab with the optional items, and it's purely for like cosmetics. It's nothing pay to win or anything like that. I used to love it. I used to pay a lot on there till I decided I don't really want to buy digital items. But yeah, plenty of really beautiful outfits for your characters in there. The NPC outfits from Final Fantasy XIV, but not only, also from different Final Fantasy games. You can have like the inspired outfits. There is also something available there that is called a job skip. So, for example, you can buy an item that will unlock a certain job on like level 50 and 60, just for the monies, if you want to like get a job to the higher level without putting effort in game, although it's possible without putting in money, of course. What else we have there? There's a story skip as well. For example, I wouldn't, of course, recommend to buy it for the starting player, but if you want to play on a different server with your friends, but you don't want to go through entire Realm Reborn, again, in Heavensward, you can buy that special item on the Mog station to like get you all the way to Stormblood, to on the beginning of Stormblood and the beginning of Shadowbringers, I think. So that's that. That's the Mog station. Also, you can buy mounts and past events. We've been talking about Final Fantasy XIV limited time events earlier. So if you are going to miss that event in like next year, the items, the rewards that were previously available through that event are most likely going to be available on the Mog station, so you can buy them. And they're also on sale, I think. So during when there's like a Easter event coming up right now, all the previous years of the Eastern event should be on sale on the Mog station right now. So if you missed it, it's a easier way to get the rewards you missed from the previous years.
And from we've just mentioned sort of some different types of money situations. Daimorti, could you briefly explain the virtual economy of this game and how it is utilized by the player?
Yeah, I mean the normal currency as in most Final Fantasy games is just gil, however you want to pronounce it. You just accumulate that by playing. You can you get enough during the story that you don't really have to worry about it if you don't want to worry about it. And if you want to worry about it, there is ways to be a bazillionaire and get to gold cap on all your retainers and your character, and then just sit there with the fat stacks, the Scrooge McDuck type of money. But the game, it's very different than in other MMOs. It doesn't really focus on like an in-game gold economy. There isn't like there is gold sinks in the game that are silly. Like there is a mount that is 50 million gil that is just a gold version of a different mount.
It's worth it.
It's absolutely worth it. 100% worth it. 100% worth it. You got to make money to get those mounts. But they just like they never really implemented any big gold things. Like endgame doesn't require you to like spend millions of gold to be able to get raid ready. No, like most of the time you buy a stack of food for like 100k. You can make that in a day, and then you're set. You can raid. Where in other games you would have to like grind up for months to get enough gold to do stuff. And so eventually they were like, okay, you all have so much money. Here's a mount that is the same mount you already have in gold. When you move, it like throws gold coins, like just
It's
you know,
literally
gold coins.
just a flex.
It's just to be like,
flex.
you guys are poor and I am not. It's just for hunt trains basically, and yeah, it's just like you can spend like I think 250 million at the moment on all these gold mounts, or probably even more. So there is definitely an economy. You can make money in a lot of ways. When a new patch drops, you can be a crafter and make 20, 30, 40 million. When Island Sanctuary dropped, there was like a specific craft you could make, which is just a fountain. It's just a fountain you put on your island. It's visual. It does nothing. It is completely unnecessary.
And just a flex.
It's just a flex, but I made 50 million, about 50 million gil just by selling that, which is huge. I just doubled my net worth just by selling those things because people just have so much money in the game. So yeah, it's a very chill economy.
Crafting.
Yeah, it's very chill. You can make a lot of money even outside of crafting if you want to, but you are never forced to, which is very nice.
That's cool. Taco Pete actually just had a question about the housing system. Our next question is for Inochi about the housing situation. So, Inochi, what do you have to do to own a house or even an island in this game?
So an island, everybody can have an island,
Yeah.
aside from the housing, which is a little bit more complicated situation. The island is an amazing reward that we get from our favorite Tataru for saving a world again. So it is a sort of a getaway for the Warrior of Light to just farm, catch animals, farm resources, and just chill on the beach and just make yourself a little bathhouse, for example. So yeah, the only requirement for it is to finish Endwalker. So basically, everybody can get to that point eventually and enjoy this very comfy Animal Crossing like content. Yeah, to own a house is a little bit more complicated because there's a limited amount of houses, a limited amount of spaces for the housing in the game, and there is our favorite lottery system that got introduced. So basically, they release once in a while. They released an instance with the housing plots, and people have to like kind of get in a queue for the lottery, like bid for the plot. And on the day of the results of the lottery, they need to praise that they got picked by the system, and then they can enjoy having a house and everything that goes with it. It's really great if people, everybody that likes to sim like decorating games, I think they can really sink in a lot of hours into housing in Final Fantasy XIV. I mentioned my free company. We have a husbando wall with the portraits of our favorite husbandos and a little dancing podium. With the dance pole, of course, obviously. My free company was a little bit lucky because we got our free company house before the lottery system got introduced. So in Heavensworth, it's a little bit tricky to get it now. I did try to get my private house. I wasn't fortunate to win the lottery last time when they introduced new housing areas. But yeah, let's just hope they just gonna keep on introducing more, so people can be lucky that actually will be using those areas, right? And the housing.
And if you want to make some money in the game, become an interior decorator. People will pay top dollar for you
Yeah.
to come and decorate their house
People
for them.
commission you to decorate their house.
There is like
Wow,
famous
okay.
interior designers in
Yeah.
the community. They have a waiting list that is months long. Like you have to wait like half a year for some of these designers until they have a slot for you. It's crazy. I got lucky with my house. Like back before we had the lottery system, the system was a bit different.
It was the 16-hour clicking system.
When a plot became available, within the 24 hours of it being available, at any point in those 24 hours, it would become purchasable at random, and you had to click it and be like, buy. And then it would tell you, it's not ready. And you click it, buy. It's not ready. And then eventually it's ready. And
in my time, it was even different. It was first comes, first serve.
Yeah,
yeah. That's how they kind of try to fix it.
They enabled the long timers, and it's the mysterious random timer. It could be 3 hours. It could be 36.
Pint has a great video about this, how I enslaved my Final Fantasy guild, or FC. Go watch it. It's a great video about the housing. You had to like sit there and just click and click and click and click, and obviously people were botting.
It took me 16 hours to get my FC house, and then another 36 to get my own.
But when I started the game on Omega, I heard about like the houses. I'm gonna get a house once I have enough money. And then I had the money. I'm like, I'm gonna get a house. And then I heard about everybody like, oh, housing savage. It's impossible to get a house. I walked up to a plot. I clicked buy. I got it.
There's stories like that. There's stories where they go right up to an empty plot, click it, buy it. But of course, I'm on Aether Cactar, which is one of the most competitive servers. There's nothing there, and so it took me 16 hours of camping to get my house, and then we transferred our house for the free company into a larger house before this new lottery system came up, because now it's completely random to try to
Yeah.
keep people from hogging all the houses. And so I was lucky enough to get it before the lottery system happened, and then the lottery system happened. I happened to get the house in Imperium, so now I have like
Mm.
a
Nice.
medium in Imperium because of that, because it was
Yeah, the
the
lottery system is not too bad, honestly. It's like the
it's
fairest you
fair
can
at
get.
least.
It's
Yeah,
fair, but like I walked up, I got my small, I have a small
it's
and mist,
sad,
I have a
but
view of the beach. I love it, but I want a medium because I am already at decoration limit. So I want a medium.
You'll
23
always
straight losses
you'll
with the
always
lottery
be at
system.
decoration limit.
I know, but I lost a 1
I
in
have a
3
medium.
when
I'm
the
at
new
decoration limit.
awards came out. I lost the 1 in 3 and I'm still crushed about it.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
The
Well,
lotto is very crushing.
So no,
Taco
I caved and I went
Oh.
and bought a ticket in Shiroganima. Let's see.
Taco Pete's question was, do you have any ideas for how Square can potentially improve the housing system?
Just
Ideas,
more
yes.
areas, maybe.
Feasible, no. The problem with housing is
Mm.
that they're running on a separate instance. It's an instance of 30 plots where it's a neighborhood of 30, right? You go
Which
in,
is so much fun.
which is
Mhm.
amazing. You have you can have a party. People have parties. They hire DJs that are playing live on Twitch, and you have different houses with different party themes, and you go in and out and get drinks and role play. It's fantastic. The role play scene in Final Fantasy is fantastic, but because they want to keep this like neighborhood feeling, it's so hard to fix it because every time they put in a ward, they need a server for the ward. So
Mm.
implementing housing is incredibly expensive for Square Enix because they have to host that. And then if people just like have a house and they like water their garden once every day and never use anything else, it's kind of wasted. So they only
Yeah.
really increase their housing size if the player base significantly increases from a financial standpoint. So they would have to rework it all and they might lose the neighborhoods. And yeah, there's a lot of technical
The
mumbo
wonderful
jumbo in the back
thing,
end.
yeah, the
Yeah.
wonderful thing about Final Fantasy is that the housing is instance to a neighborhood, so you have neighbors and stuff like that, but it's also the worst part of the Final Fantasy housing, because
No.
it's finite because it has that aspect, and it's can't be infinite.
Yeah, like when they gave us the islands, like people were thinking like, oh, we could like does this replace housing? And it does in a way and it doesn't in another way because you weren't able to like you are able to build like places and buildings, but only in predetermined locations. That was like the stipulation they put in it. Now they're trying to make it so that you can like outdoor decorate the island with incoming patches, so you can have like outdoor decorations placed anywhere. But like it took them, or it is taking them like almost a year to develop that feature alone. So the entire housing system is like a house of cards, and if they do too much, it might break. And so it's very expensive
Good
for them to
old
fix,
spaghetti code.
and they don't gain anything from it. That's the problem with companies, right? They don't gain anything from everybody having a house. Like, yes, the players are going to be more happy, but are they really going to quit the game because they didn't get a house? They can still get an apartment. They can still have an FC house.
Technically, their houses make you constantly log in, because if you
Yeah,
don't log in after a certain period of time, they demolish your house.
that's true.
So
Yeah,
it technically
Yeah.
does continue a subscription in that
yeah.
sense, but
I was wondering,
otherwise,
how was it? The 3 months, 180 days, was it?
45 days.
45
Oh,
days.
Walk into
they
your houses,
lower it.
And
guys,
you have
every
to walk
45
into it.
days.
Even if you're logged in, if you don't enter your house for 45 days, you will get the email that it's going to be demolished within 7 days.
Oh,
Walk
okay.
in, interact with something, always go into your house.
It used to be 180, so I was wondering if like
No.
maybe that they lowered it. Okay.
And we
Well,
didn't talk about this, like fashion show in Gold Saucer. That's very important.
Yeah.
you've just talked about houses and islands. Now, I heard gardenings in Final Fantasy XIV. Amy, could you explain to us, how do you get a garden and what do you get out of it?
You have to have a property in order to have a garden, because it is an outdoor thing. You can have plants in your house, but you can't do quite as much as you can with a garden, because with gardening, there's eight gardening slots on the large plot pieces of the large item for gardening. It's like in a little cube, essentially a 3x3 cube, and the middle is taken up by your little scarecrow, which incidentally scares away birds or whatever. And then you plant around it. But depending on the pattern you plant it in, the seeds can crossbreed to produce more rare seeds, to produce minions, or crystals or plant items for rare crafting or plant items to feed to your chocobo that are also rare. It's very lucrative, incredibly time consuming, and very frustrating.
I have a permanent Thavnarian onion farm. I will never change that.
Yeah, same. I also have a permanent Thavnarian onion farm, but I also
It makes
I
the
was
most
growing
money.
like a whole bunch of I've also was growing a whole bunch of minions for my FC at one point, so it looked like I had little children buried in my soil, which was both creepy. I didn't realize that's what they look like when they come out. So imagine my horror when I log in one day and there's children in my soil. I'm like, I didn't do this. I didn't put them here.
Let's have a look at some other questions we've had so far from chat. Tomato asked, I'm gonna ruin the name. Why does everybody hate Papalimo? Papalmo? And
Papalemo!
Papalemo, and then
We
why
love him.
why is this the correct choice? Is what he
We
says.
don't hate Papa Lima.
hated.
No.
He's just
He's
a
one
bit-
of the very little amount of
He's
lalafels that
dear.
they
That
deserve
aren't
respect.
evil. Yeah.
He's not a genocidal maniac like most of them are.
I
Yeah,
honestly
let's talk
think
about Lalo Rito Burrito. We hate him.
Burrito.
Exactly.
Papalemo's awesome. Nobody hates him. Come on.
It's just that his voice actor is a bit grating in ARR before they fix the voice acting, and he is he is a bit of a like high-nosed kind of character, like wearing the monocle and always and like belittling other characters or one character in particular, with good reason, but so yeah, I don't think he's like universally hated, but he's probably of the like main cast like the weakest of them.
And we also don't have him for too long compared to others.
Whatever do you
He is
mean?
vital for the time we have him, though.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
then you get to meet his. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That
moving
was
on.
It took me a while to realize what was going on. Then I was like, you assholes. Why? I didn't need this today.
Right up there with Moonbreedas.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next question that we've got. This was actually back when we were talking about different areas, I think. Judge Zect asked, what is the superior playable race, and why is it Vieira?
Male Vieira,
True.
to be precise. Although, no, we can't. I'm sorry.
Lady Vieira.
I won't agree till
Vieira is
Vieira
amazing.
can wear hats.
Exactly. Vieira and Rovka are out of the run because out of the race because they
I
can't wear all
legitimately
hats.
don't know how to wear hats anymore because I've been a Vieira since day one. So when I like Fantasia'd into a Lalafell for a week because I thought it was funny, I never wore any hats, and everybody's like, Amy, and why won't you take this time to take advantage of the fact you can wear hats? And I was like, there are hats in the game?
It's like, wait, what?
I've seen the mods. It looks really cool. It looks really cool. Just give them hats, Square Enix. Come on.
I gotta give a shout out to Femro. Just
They're beautiful.
Femro. Yeah.
I'm a lizard child. Always been. I never once used Fantasia. I get very attached to the characters, the NPCs,
Same.
and also my character, so I can't imagine it her not being Aura like ever.
I've used one to make my Midlander into a different type of Midlander so I can have a beard.
Oh.
That's it. That's all I did. I'm so attached to that guy. He has like a scar on his cheek because of some bullshit reason I made up when I made him, and I can't let go.
Oh, I really love Vieras though. I really like tall women. So they're
Same.
they're really amazing. I love them.
My partner is like Fantasia addict, so she
Ooh.
changes her all the time, and that's the only reason why I ever changed mine because she's like, we could match, and that's like cute to me. But I've been a Vieira since day one, and that's all I've ever wanted to be.
I mean, I'm just going to agree with the Vieira. I'm a big Final Fantasy XII Fran obsessive, so
You can meet her in 14. Just
I've
saying.
heard.
Ah, you could play the game and meet Fran in the flesh.
You can even have a little Fran minion with you that runs
That
after you all the
follows you.
time.
You can
Yeah.
the Vieira in the game wear her outfit as their default outfit.
There it is. Can I say
a
a little
whole
joke
forest
about
of people.
Fantasia, by the way? Can I have
Go
Can I tell you one little
Please, go
joke?
ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so welcome to the Fantasia Attic meeting. I see a lot of new faces here, and I must say I'm very disappointed.
Yes, 10 out of 10. Love it.
See, I
Love
don't
this
get
one.
that, I'm afraid.
See, Fente? No.
Funky in chat is rolling eyes at Fran because she does not understand why I love Fran so much.
It's their personality.
Yes, of course it is.
Her two personalities.
I mean, it actually is.
The
I
left
do
and the
actually
right.
love her personality as well. Okay, let me scroll through, and I'm gonna have to skip some of the questions that are sort of like we've already kind of answered. Okay, here's an interesting one. Goosewine asked, what gaming collab are you excited to be featured in Final Fantasy XIV? Think the Nier content.
What would be the next one? I mean, 16 is an obvious choice.
Oh, that's it's like the Spider-Man meme, but Yoshida just like
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
that's you.
That's gonna happen 100%. I'm excited.
I think
for
somebody
that.
talked to him and he was like, "Yes, let me talk to the producer of."
Yeah, he did. He
16."
did that in the interview. It was amazing. Yeah, that was the best joke.
Yeah.
For everybody not to know, Yoshida is the producer of 14. He's also the producer of 16. So it's both
Exactly.
his children at this
Talking to
point.
himself.
I don't know.
One collab I would really want to see, but I know it's impossible. It's my other favorite franchise beside Final Fantasy is Kingdom Hearts. But I know the
That is
clashes
impossible,
that
Disney.
sadly,
Imagine
yeah.
if Disney gets its grips in Final Fantasy
Mm.
Oh
14.
no.
Yeah, no, the Sakurai from Smash, right? He said like it was so difficult to get Sora into Smash, like never
Yeah.
again ask me anything. So
Yeah, definitely.
that's something I would like to see, but I know it's just really in my wishful thinking.
I feel like a lot of the collabs end up being, Square Enix tangentially. So I feel like a collab like from The World Ends With You would be really intriguing. A little smaller, indier Square Enix game, which is very along the vein of Final Fantasy vibes. But I feel like they're not going to be. I really enjoy Final Fantasy's Alliance raids as not collabs because it's been like
Yeah.
the new raid series is so good and that story
It's
is so good
great.
because it comes from the game
Yeah.
itself. And so I really appreciate more lore from the game itself. And that if they do collabs, it would be like the 15 collab and the 13 collab where
Like
it's
a limited time
like a
event.
limited time
Yeah.
event, which would be fun. And never again bring back the yokai collab because that could go down in fire.
It was here 3 times already. That's enough.
Yeah,
It takes
still need
too
to get
long.
some
It's so
minions.
painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also agree. I think the Final Fantasy XIV has so much taken from other Final Fantasies and inspirations and collabs and Square Enix games that I'm here for more original content. As I'm excited for Final Fantasy 16, no more remakes, remasters, yada yada. Just more original, new Final Fantasy
I
stuff.
definitely am of the same mind. They should keep the Alliance raids to like their own dev studio. As great as the Nier raids were, it just doesn't really work that well. Which
Nier
makes
gave
sense.
us
Nier
all
doesn't
the
work.
glams we wanted, though.
Yeah,
Like,
it's all the glams we wanted.
Oh, I loved it too.
It
was a
like
great
I
collab.
actually like also got in the game because of the Monster Hunter collab because they had Behemoth in
that's
Monster
a permanent
Hunter and
collab, so that one was
and that
nice. Yeah.
fun as hell, and you get the Dragoon armor in Monster Hunter Rise at Monster Hunter World at the time, so that also made me interested to play it. And I think they should like focus on that, like make like very fun, very different trials out of collab content, like the
That's side content though that you
Rathalos,
can like
side
access
content
instead of like
that you can access
main.
instead of making it like the main patch content. I think that's a good idea. And yeah, in that regard, I mean, there's a lot of I kind of like it doesn't work. Maybe they could find a way to make it work. Maybe like a Halloween collab with like Resident Evil because they have a very good
That would
relationship
be
with Capcom.
so much fun.
That'd be so much fun.
Can you
but yeah,
imagine?
it'd be so much like just a Halloween event where just
Leon
like
just
people turn to
showing up and
zombies.
being
Yeah.
like,
Chris punches a mountain.
I'm a
you know.
machinist.
Exactly.
Okay, we've got a couple more that are pre-written questions, and then we've got a few from chat. You're welcome to continue sending some in, guys, but we are getting towards the end of the stream now. Daimorti, ultimates are known to be the most difficult bosses. What are they, and have you completed any?
They are very difficult, very fun mashups of previous bosses. So the designers take previous raid tiers and previous bosses and they smush them together to create a new fight within them that is incredibly difficult, as we've talked about it before already. It requires a lot of attention. It requires you to learn a lot of convoluted mechanics, follow precise movements. They are the top tier content that only a very, very few people actually do in the game because they are very, very hardcore. I've not cleared one. I started my first one, which is T, which is the Stormblood one, I guess. The Epic of Alexander, which is like the Heavensward raid series remashed into that fight. And we just got the second one for this expansion, Top, the Omega Protocol, which smushes the Omega raid series together, which they made. The one previous was incredibly unique. They played around with like story elements and stuff, and they made it incredibly hard. And the race took like 5 days, and everybody said like this is the hardest fight ever. And then they said we're never going to make an ultimate this hard anymore. And then they made Top.
Brought you Top,
and then they brought Top, and they were just like, "JK, LOL."
which is burning out a lot of raiders.
Yes,
like Top is really
It
killing
so
the raiding
difficult.
scene right now.
Yeah, it's breaking up some people. Yeah, it's causing some relationship
It's
drama.
literally ending people. Like people are done with the game. It's really bad.
But yeah,
They
it's very,
wanted
very, very
difficult content, you know.
Exactly. That's a joke, right?
They asked for it.
Oh, you like, oh, there's no difficult content in the game. Downloads Cactua and zooms out. Yeah, but it's super difficult content, and it's super duper duper optional content because you get nothing for it. You get a glowing weapon at the end, and that's it. It is only for looks and bragging.
You also get a title.
You also get the title.
You can flex,
yes, of
and
course.
you also have frame pieces and like your portrait stuff you can flex.
But you get like nothing that like
it's
would
for
require you to do
Limsa.
it. It's for AFKing and Limsa, yeah.
Flexing. Everything is flexing.
Exactly, which is fun. Like you don't need it for gear. It's optional for if you want to hate yourself for 3 weeks
or more.
Or more. Echo.
Going back to I think the Golden Saucer, Spooky asked for Amy and others if they have an opinion. Which rule set of Triple Triad is your favorite? Which is your least favorite? And which NPC did you hate defeating the most?
Oh, is this a personal attack?
My favorite rule set is probably I really like reverse because I think it's really funny. It's essentially like usually the biggest number wins on Triple Triad. I won't go too much into detail because I could probably talk about this all the time. Like a lot forever because I've been playing Final Fantasy VIII and that's where Triple Triad was born from. But usually the big number wins, and in reverse, the smallest number wins. And so I like kind of that challenge. It kind of flips your brain around and like, oh, now I have to think of it opposite. The rule set I hate the most is Chaos because I want to have control of which cards I choose next, not the horrible game because it's horrible. It's random, is very rude. And then the worst NPC I had to fight for Triple Triad cards was the otter at the bottom of the ocean in the Ruby Sea.
No.
It has 2 cards you need for a specific achievement mount, which is literally floating on a card. Like they give you the card and you sit on it, and that's your mount. And 2 of the cards comes from this stupid otter in the ocean, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's such a cute little otter. I'm gonna play cards with an otter. No, you're not just playing cards with the otter. The otter is ruthless, has the worst set of rules, and he is better than you. He is better than you in every way. And his drop rate is 0.026 before they upgraded it.
Otters are better than me.
0.00265% was the drop rate before they fixed it to be better, and now it's 0.2%.
Oh,
doable.
Thank you, Yoshi.
Doable. Yeah. Basically the same answer for me. No, like I prefer no rules because once you put in some of the rules, it just doesn't work anymore. Least favorite is definitely Chaos because the moment you make Triple Triad random, it doesn't work. It's random. Like you have no more control over it. You know?
Yeah,
There's
the
no
order rule
strategy.
is really
or
stuck as
order
well.
with chaos. It's no.
You have
like,
to always
it's in
place
the
the
name.
characters in the same order, and it's never the one you need.
Yeah,
I also really dislike same roll, or like I'm sorry, like when they take your card and they always take the best card out of your deck
The
to use
swap
against you.
roll.
Oh, you took
Swap.
my only
Thank you.
A card? Nice, yeah. I love like
Like,
reverse
why?
is definitely the most fun one because once you see reverse, you're like, ha, I have a reversal deck with the worst cards
All
in the
ready to
game.
go.
Unless it's a random rule,
I
then you
have
never
tons
know.
of
Yeah, if
shit
it's
cards.
a
Let
random rule, it's the
me let
worst.
me
Then you
show
just lose.
you.
But the absolute worst feeling in Triple Triad is you're dunking on an NPC, but it's same or plus, and you set up everything. You did the math. You know the mathematical formulas were around your head, and then they just have that one card that just plus, and
That's
they get the
literally
entire board,
perfect.
and there's nothing you can do against it because that card is a rotating card. They don't always have it, but that time they had it, and they just won, even though you dominated them. It's just the worst feeling.
At least we're not losing the cards in 14, while in
Yeah,
8.
in 8 they would take your cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my first day
Don't
playing
give them
Final Fantasy
ideas.
8, they would take Zell card, and I was like, okay, I'm not playing Triple
I
Triad.
literally would save before every single time I would play.
It is serious business, absolutely.
And actually, going on from that, mentioning a mainline Final Fantasy game, Tomato has asked, what is everybody's favorite Final Fantasy outside of 14, and does 14 reference it?
Yes. Final Fantasy VIII. They reference it in the end of Shadowbringers. They have a whole entire raid tier for it. They have music, and the Gunbreaker comes from Final Fantasy VIII. Riol, in my heart, looks very similar to Zell Dinch, which is my favorite character in Final Fantasy VIII. I've already talked extensively. You guys know too much about me already.
All the Gunbreaker abilities, I think they're called after Cypher's and Skull's abilities
Yes,
as well,
they
right?
are.
And even the animations
are all like the Gunbreaker mostly takes after Cypher's animations with like the sword on your shoulder and stuff, but it all is like between Cypher and Squall's animations too. So it's very, very influenced. And then recently in Endwalker, there's a character that is a very small cameo character in 8 that's totally
Yes.
random that shows up in Endwalker, and it shows up in a big way in Endwalker, which is really cute. If they don't give me that minion and that mount, I will have words.
Uh-oh. For me, it's 7. It will always be 7 because it was my first JRPG and my first Final Fantasy game. And it's not, I mean, it is referenced definitely, but not in a big way. I do have Cloud's Advent Children armor though, so, you know, when I feel like it, I can put that on.
There's like Ruby weapon and
there's like the weapon
and Sapphire
weapon
the
weapon.
weapons,
in there.
yeah. There is not that many reference, right? The mount, the bike
isn't
is
that much,
there.
yeah.
The glamour.
I mean,
not
you
too
The
much.
very rare hair.
The literally
The
only
very
pay
rare
to
hair.
win thing.
Yeah.
The only pay to win thing in the store is actually the Fenrir motorcycle that Cloud has in Advent Children because it always has maximum mount speed.
Smidge faster than
Just
everything else.
Yeah, it's
minimal. Yeah, it's
very
great.
very important. No, I obviously bought
So
that when
important in
Endwalker came out.
Baja.
And Borgia, yeah. But it's not like into like a lot of the Final Fantasy expansions take inspiration from a specific Final Fantasy game. Or like specific parts of it. Like the Evilist Raid series is Final Fantasy XII and Final Fantasy Tactics. Like it's all of that mashed together. Endwalker is Final Fantasy IV. If you play Final Fantasy IV, Endwalker makes sense. Same with like the new content we're getting right now. The new Trial series right now is all
Very
just Final Fantasy IV. Like beat to beat, like the characters are the same and all. But like they haven't done that with 7, which makes sense because 7 doesn't really fit in like what they're
really
doing right now.
Yeah.
But we got Ruby Weapon, Emerald Weapon, and stuff, yeah.
But my favorite Final Fantasy is barely referenced as well. It is Final Fantasy X. So there's just the Thunder Plains that is shown in one battle, which is Eden 1. But and there's a glam, and basically, and that's it. Blitzball, you have to come
It's very
because
similar to the 10 aspect where like the world building in 7 and 10 are very, very intense. So like incorporating that is difficult. If I imagine if they bring in 10 or 7, it would be a crossover event like 15 or 13.
Yeah, I
I
really
think so.
wonder. Although the locations from 10, I think those could be highly like transferable or like be an inspiration for Final Fantasy 14.
The islands.
Yeah.
Island Sanctuary would be the perfect place to practice on
Right?
Blitzball.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
could
that'll be
be.
the perfect
Actually,
place.
it does look like Bezaid a little bit.
Absolutely.
Going on from that question, actually, Snowman has asked, are there any moments or characters or references from previous Final Fantasy games that you would like to see represented in 14 that haven't been as of yet?
Blitzballer.
Blitzball? Yeah. Hard question, honestly. There's so much in Final Fantasy
There's
history.
so many, yeah.
We'd need to keep it short because we're running out of time now.
Yeah, Anna has a cool suggestion. The Macalenia Woods, it's just such a beautiful
yeah.
area of those like glass night area. Very like gleamy and beautiful and calm from Final Fantasy X. That would be awesome. But yeah, maybe some future.
My
No
favorite
butterfly
one is
minigame, yeah.
heavily influenced in Shadowbringers and now, so I can't complain.
Okay, so I've got my final opinion piece for this evening. Neon Genesis very kindly edited a whole piece together for us, basically explaining Final Fantasy XIV and why everybody should give it a go. Have a little watch of this, and then we'll see if you've got anything to add afterwards.
Final Fantasy XIV is not just another MMORPG. It is an immersive and engaging world filled with rich storyline, unforgettable characters, and breathtaking visuals. But why should you play Final Fantasy XIV? My name's Neon Genesis. Let me show you. First of all, Final Fantasy XIV has one of the most engaging storylines in any MMORPG. From the moment you create your character and step into the world, you are immersed into a narrative that will keep you hooked for hours on end. The game's world is rich and detailed, with gorgeous environments and an incredible attention to detail. You'll explore vast, beautiful landscapes, from lush forests to frozen tundras, and encounter a wide variety of creatures and monsters along the way. But what really sets Final Fantasy XIV apart is its community. The game's social features make it easy to connect with players, form friendships, and even join a free company, a group of players who work together to achieve common goals. Oh, and let's not forget about the game's combat system, which is both fast-paced and strategic. You'll need to carefully manage your abilities and position yourself correctly to take down even the toughest enemies. Oh, and finally, Final Fantasy XIV is constantly evolving. The developers are constantly adding new content, from story updates to new raids and dungeons. There's always something new to discover. So, what are you waiting for? Join us today. Join the millions of players who have already discovered the magic of Final Fantasy XIV. Create your character and embark on an adventure like no other.
Okay, now I'm gonna cry. As I said, there's songs you can't listen to without crying.
So there you go, guys. What do you think? What do you agree with everything he said there? And just
Where can
push
I sign
it.
up? Is there like a free trial I can try the game
Oh my
first?
gosh, let me tell you about the free trial. Completely free trial, unlimited, all the way up to level
Really?
60.
Wow, damn.
Even
Unlimited? How?
chat's
How
pushing
do
it
they
right
make
now.
money? You can't give this away
Literally
for
a
free.
cult. It's literally a cult.
Yeah, I would agree with everything except like combat system that is strategic.
Oh.
If we are a little bit nitpicky right now, like the combat system like at the high end is a bit dumbed down and very static in the way, like you just press the buttons in the order that you press them in.
And you learn the pattern, right?
Yeah, you learn the pattern. Like at the
But
high
it's-
end,
it's
at the
the
high
journey.
end, it
It's
loses the
the-
strategic element.
Yeah, it's the journey that you're going through with your friends, like those weeks and weeks of trying
Yeah.
to beat that boss and the memories you're making. So essentially, it's really what makes this game is people's.
Yeah.
People like you guys that I met you here, people that I met on Twitch and FunFest, and through this game that really makes it that I want to keep on playing it as well. And the story, of course,
Yeah.
the ever evolving story.
The game is just designed in a way to respect your time as a player. Like Yoshida is on record saying that if you've done the content, please unsubscribe. Don't give us money. Wait for the next patch and then resubscribe. He doesn't want people to just pay money and log in every day. That's not what
Unless
he
you
wants
have
the
a
game
house,
to
in
be.
which case.
In which case, I mean,
Log in every single day.
yeah, well, rich people problem. But it's reflected in the community. Sure, the community has its dark sides. Sure, there's like drama here and there, but for the most part, the community is incredibly welcoming. The game is designed so you have fun in it, and it just reflects. People just enjoy playing the game. They enjoy sharing the game. They enjoy forcing everybody around them to join the game and play the game, and never skip a cutscene. Oh, you better not click that button.
It's up to you, but don't do it.
It's up to you, but I will judge you for the rest of your life, and I will never forgive you if you skip this cutscene. That has no import to the story. But yeah, it's just a game that invites you in. It doesn't demand much of you. It just gives you a world to play in, people to meet, stories to experience. And at the end of it, like for me personally, like especially the topics that were, especially Endwalker came out, and you could just tell like the devs, all the blood, sweat, and tears that they endured during the pandemic and the lockdown, they all put that in that game. And the message of the expansion ultimately is just like keep going, hope, smile, and it's exactly what it did. It makes me happy. This game makes me happy.
Yeah.
My final few questions is, I mean, you've kind of already convinced people who's never played an MMO, but how many more years do you see Square updating 14, and how many more years do you think you yourselves will be invested in it? That's for any of you.
Can't even imagine this game ever ending, honestly. I think that's gonna be one of the saddest days of my life, honestly. I don't even want to imagine that situation. I want to play Final Fantasy series and Final Fantasy 14 as long as possible, so I don't want to imagine the end, honestly. Just keep on giving me. But we're just starting the new arc of the story, so I think they can easily go another 10 years. Final Fantasy XI is still breathing and beating, so why not 14?
Yeah, I'm basically of the same mind. I think as long as Yoshida-san can work, he will work on this project. He said that this is his legacy. That is, this 14 is the legacy he wants to leave, and he says that he cannot see him ever not developing this game. So as long as he's there and he's doing what he loves, and the team is doing what they love, I think I'll stick with them. The only way Square could get me out of the game is if they implement NFTs and Web3, which Yoshida is against. And so
There's
as long
hope.
as Yoshida is there, I'm there. Like that man is a god to me.
I think that Final Fantasy XI has gone on for so long and still gets content constantly.
Yeah.
So I feel like 14 is going to be way ahead, at least, of that. I know that 11 just had an executive switch over because the previous executive or producer is retiring, and so a lot of people are kind of feeling like that might be the end. But for the most part, like I think we still have many years to go for 14 before anything could
Yeah, I think-
potentially be the end.
I think the new story arc right now is planned for another 10 years. So
I think that they're gonna drop the trailer soon, like at FanFest in July.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Las Vegas is gonna have
100%.
like the first cut of it. I think they're gonna cut it up. Like they're gonna have like the trailer evolve
first
with
in
every
Vegas
FanFest.
and then
Yeah.
London, and then
Please
Japan.
give me tickets, Yoshida. Please, one ticket, general sale, please.
All three of
I
you
got one
trying.
for Vegas.
Oh, you've got one. Okay. Yeah.
I got
Oh,
one for Vegas,
congratulations.
but it was through like the sheer like grace of
Oh.
other people having it because I did not win any of the lottos.
My partner actually got an email, so we were like, whoa.
Awesome.
Yeah, our house got the lottery.
Nice.
I sadly got
Very-
none, and apparently it's only 4,000 tickets for London XL. So
Well, hope we see each other there.
I
Team
will
on
be
train.
there. We'll definitely be able to meet. I'll be there standing in front if I don't have a ticket crying, but I'll be there.
Oh,
Well, on that note,
I'll be waving.
we've gone through all of the questions. I mean, we haven't gone through all the questions. We had to skip some. But thank you so much, everybody in chat, for putting your questions through. Hopefully, you did get them answered in some way or form. And thank you so much to our 3 guests for this evening for answering all of our wild Final Fantasy XIV questions and getting so hyped about it. Honestly, the 14 community will always put a smile on my face for just how much they love this game, and they will never stop. So we will finish off for today, where each of you could please just explain when you're next streaming, what you're currently streaming. Is probably not going to be too surprising, and yeah, where people can find you, and hopefully a mod in chat will be able to pop a shout out for you. So if you could start with Amy, please.
I'm Amy. Sometimes I stream Final Fantasy on Fridays, usually, unless there's like a really big X pack coming in on like a Tuesday or something like that. But usually I stream Final Fantasy on Fridays, and then I usually do community-based games the rest of the week, like Pokemon, Jackbox, and stuff like that. You can find me on twitch.tv/Amy sometimes everywhere.
And Daimorti?
Yeah, my name is Demorti. I am a small Twitch affiliate. I stream 14, usually Tuesdays, Saturdays, if my work schedule allows. Love the game. You can find me everywhere at Demorti. Well, Twitter and YouTube and Twitch mostly. That's me. That's it.
And Anochi, what about you? What's your schedule like at the minute?
So you can find me at twitch.tv/InuchiFantasy. I really like Final Fantasy, that's why it's in the name. We're currently playing Yakuza Like a Dragon Ishin. I'm really a big fan of Yakuza games as well. Yes, I love them so much. I play games like Final Fantasy, Persona, Kingdom Hearts, so all the JRPGs, and we play Final Fantasy XIV always on Tuesdays. It's our MMORPG day. Unless it's a big patch, then I can go for like an entire week. The Final Fantasy XIV is like the one game that never changes. It's always there on the channel. So here on Twitch, I'm Inochi Fantasy, and on other social media, you can find me as CG Inochi. So I do lots of cosplay and cosplay photography as well. If this is your thing, if you like this sort of hobby as well, I do have some Final Fantasy and Persona cosplays. So you can check the pictures if you would like, for example. And hopefully I'm going to cosplay at FanFest as well.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's exciting.
Awesome. That is exciting.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you again for the guests. Thank you for all of the opinion pieces as well that we had tonight. Really keep them coming. Anyone, if you've ever got anything that you want to talk about, just let me know. Send me a DM. If any of you want to be a guest on this podcast, send me a DM. Always welcome. So thank you so much, everybody, for being in chat. Thank you for the podcast, and we'll see you later. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.